until at least November.
Do you have to wait? Who is shaving your head? Like, are you shaving yourself, or is Travis just gonna take?
No, you're doing it.
I'm doing it
with your feet. You have to handstand and do it.
Really? I will do that.
We ready to go?
Yeah.
Hello,
also just like tear up the skin on.
That's 2 weeks in a row, motherfucker. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the GeekVerse podcast. We are free falling into episode 150. I am the heartbreaker, Travis Snail.
I am the international geophysical, Dylan Muss.
Ooh. I am these memories are real, Taylor Field. I just totally spaced on my name.
That's actually one of the better ones, and you didn't think about that. So I think you should just not think about it beforehand and
just go for it.
Well, actually, that could prove fatal. But
I'm the needle jogger, Tyler Briggs.
Needle jogger, very cool.
Yep.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't guessed by our nicknames or the title, we are reviewing one of the most anticipated movies of the year, Blade Runner 2049. But before that, we got to get to some quick housekeeping. Taylor, you want to start us off?
Yeah, with my housekeeping.
That's why I said start us off. Oh,
you have to say my housekeeping. I say Tyler's.
I'm sitting here with a Nexus 1 model over here.
Yeah, you
God damn.
A 2-month lifespan.
I wish. We got it's 4 years, right?
We have a new Taylor every 2 months.
So what?
Works.
Next
Yeah,
summer's 3 years, so we're close. Thank God. We can get a new model. Thank God. Go head over to Patreon so we get a new good model.
They'll transfer.
But it's risky because what if that model's not great, and then that one has like a regular human lifespan? Then we're kind of just.
Well,
stuck.
we're already with like a really atrociously bad one, and we stuck with that for you. So I'll
Maybe
take
their
not great.
return policy has been upgraded since the previous model.
Yeah, maybe some return policies too.
I thought he was an alien. Now he's
protection.
the fucking.
You see that
He's both.
You see that Tyrell guy? Let me know where he's at, because I want to live a little longer. You know.
Well, what have you been doing with this 4 years?
Well, this a lot of stuff, you know. These 4 years, not 4 years, but over the past. I'll narrow it down. The past, like.
Really, it seemed like 4 years. It's taking another raw or not.
it's-
How about the last
Yeah.
2 days?
The last
going
2
on?
days has been incredible. You know, like.
We did see Blade Runner.
We did do some Blade Runner that time, but you know what? To narrow it down, we finally, me and Ruid, have Rod or Not. Episode 2.5, we're calling it, because 2 just got lost somewhere in the verse, and so we're going 2.5.
A lot that happens often.
It happens quite often. So, you know, like, it's going to be up on Patreon tonight. You subscribe
Tomorrow
to
morning,
it.
play it safe.
Tomorrow morning, play it safe. You know what? Like, it's going to be dropping, what do we say, like, November 1st officially. Like,
Yeah, November, but if you're Patreon, you get nice and early.
Yeah,
so.
nice and early, and it's a juicy 47 minutes long. It's
Yikes,
double the
that's
time
crazy.
of the first episode, double the punishments, double the games, double the hilariousness. Like, it's
Double the fun.
double the fun. It's great all around. So
But still just one Taylor, unfortunately.
one Taylor, or maybe not. Who knows? Give
No,
it-
there's just one Taylor. He hasn't cloned himself, but yeah.
GeekVerse has figured out how to clone people, so.
Oh God, that would make the work a lot easier though. So you know what? I wouldn't be against it. until
I would
they
be
take
so
over
down
our
to watch a
place.
cast of 6 Travises all just yelling at each other and
That's the
subsequently talking louder than the previous one, and
That's the
your
20
camera would explode.
That's the 24-hour stream right there. Just
Yeah.
the 6 Travises. But yeah, as you mentioned, Patreon, you head there, you get Raw or Not. You got the first episode of the Marvel retrospective that we did, Saw retrospectives, which I think a new one's dropping next week for the non-Patreon subscribers. This is going to be not the last time I plug, but this is your final warning before next week. You could get hit with spoilers. Geek Mania is tomorrow, and if you're listening to this, probably today. Oh my God, 2 hours and 50 minutes, huge matches. Dylan and Tyler in Rocket League.
Oh yeah.
Taylor Rubin in a best of 5. You got Pokken, Battlefront, Mario Kart.
God damn.
James
That's a lot of content.
James Bond,
right
if
there.
it
That
happens.
charade movie
Movie
thing
top
that I hate.
20.
Charade cart.
A best of 5 for the world title of GeekVerse. You got Kirkland
World title.
and Jessica. Hey, I gotta.
Okay, we're
How is this
still
different than the
in
other
one city.
title?
We're not even provincial yet.
Okay, for the Kelowna title, for the BC title, you got Kirkland v Jessica. The winner of that's getting a shot to become the first ever sports GeekVerse Gauntlet champion, versing a mystery opponent. Who could that be? Could it be Liam? Could it be Kyle? Could it be Santa Claus? He's a little busy, but maybe he took some time on our schedule. Check it out, please, on YouTube. Watch it. It is a long watch. Watch it over the weekend. If you're Canadian listeners, you got a long weekend. Perfect way to spend it. It is
popping off.
lots of fun. Watch the first match. Watch the first opening. You're gonna be hooked. This is our
It's true.
yeah. It's the end of our season, so we got lots of good stuff in there. Please check it out. Lots of hard work. 24-hour stream. I thought I had something else. But anyway, 24-hour stream is November 4th. It's happening Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So figure that out wherever you are. and then Canadian time, wherever you are again. I don't know. Actually, that doesn't make any sense. But if you go to our Facebook, you can see at our website. Have you put stuff on the website yet?
Updated. I've been very busy.
Okay, so go to our Facebook. It's the
Go to
pinned
Facebook
tweet. You
first.
can find everything there from the details to games we're playing to which will be added, could change, who knows, to all the stuff. We can raise money from now until November 4th, so please help us. We're raising money for BC Children's Hospital. Everything we raise is going there. And if we hit the $500 goal, Dylan Musk is going to shave his head bald on the stream, not the cast, on the stream. So you want to, anything helps. $1, $10, anything. It's all going towards a good cause, so please do that.
If you donate $10,000, Tyler will shave his hair.
I will.
We'll all
I
shave
think-
our head.
well,
Yeah, if someone hits
we'll
on
all
10,000,
shave our heads and make wigs and trade hairs.
Donate
Yeah.
$10,000, I'll chop off my arm.
and we'll
Let's do it.
we'll play the last hour of the stream with our hairs taped to each other and just like looks really weird. Yeah.
No, I'm not.
I don't think anyone actually wants that.
No, but if you have $10,000 to throw around,
Actually, you
to
know
the
what?
BC
We're doing
Children's
this in my house. I don't think I want everyone's hair just everywhere.
We'll get Matt's.
Okay.
And then last thing, check out, Blade Runner is talked about as a great movie. Another movie that could be the best movie of the year, Cult of Chucky. We reviewed that this week.
Okay.
Check that out. Which
Interesting.
is it the
segue.
best movie of 2017? Find out. I'm guessing by the title, it's probably not.
Did you shout out the weekend too, like Star Wars Justice League?
Oh my God, that's right. This weekend is huge.
Yeah. Also
Also for Geek Mania, me and Taylor are going to do a trailer reaction to Justice League at fucking 5:30 a.m. in the morning. Lots of fun.
Wow.
And then Star Wars Last Jedi. So check out our channel. We're going to be reacting. We're going to be emoting, all that, and breaking that down. And we'll put
Unless it's so boring that you just have no reaction whatsoever.
and that'll be on the podcast feed as well. So huge weekend for GeekVerse.
Mhm.
Blade Runner, Geek Mania,
Almost too
Last
big.
Jedi.
Right.
It's almost too big.
Luckily, it's a long
Ew.
weekend for us.
That's true. That's true.
Some of us.
Well, let's get into the main event, what you've all tuned in here for. Blade Runner 2049, the sequel. If you've not listened to one of our reviews, we're going to do a non-spoilers review. You're going to hear from all of us what we thought, and then we'll give you a warning before we get into spoilers, so you can come back if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, watch the whole way through, because I think this is going to be quite a good discussion cast. I think there's a lot of points to jump on. So who wants to start with an opening statement?
Tyler does.
Yes.
Okay, Tyler does.
I thought it was a great film. It was. It's definitely it's gonna be added to my list of must-see films of the year.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say least favorite. I think it's my least favorite Blade Runner movie. Okay.
I think I definitely like it more than the first one for sure.
Oh, okay.
That's like a very solid fact for me. I don't know what you guys are actually interested now.
Mhm.
Gosh, I didn't think of an opening statement. It was good.
So you liked it overall then?
Overall, absolutely phenomenal visuals. Ryan Gosling killed it, I
Mhm.
felt. Harrison Ford did a really great job too,
Mhm.
bringing it back. And yeah, if you really enjoyed the first Blade Runner and you want to see more of the same stuff, go check out this one. If you want to see some crazy, awesome visuals, similar to what Ghost in the Shell had, visual-wise only. Ghost in the Shell, everything else, meh. Visual-wise, but with a great story around it, go check out Blade Runner 2049.
Okay, so you're
I also really liked, if anyone hasn't seen the shorts and still want to see the movie, you don't need to see the shorts.
Mhm.
I thought it's cool stuff to watch, but you can even watch the shorts after seeing the movie
Yeah.
and still enjoy them. So overall, I really like how they had those two separate things that didn't need to go together, but it definitely adds more to it.
And did you have any non-spoiler cons you could shout out? Just for the people that maybe aren't listening to spoilers yet.
No.
No, it's all
All
story.
as far as non-spoiler things go, really good time. Really good time.
I think this movie was, I was very impressed by it. Let me just say that. And it's funny you mentioned Ghost in the Shell, because after I was talking with Ruben, he's like, this is what Ghost in the Shell should have been. Visually, everything, it was fantastic. So
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned that. But I mean, overall, as a sequel, I think it delivered in every aspect I could have expected. And then just my favorite thing is that, just like the first one, it didn't leave you with too many answers, too many questions. It left you to just form your own interpretations.
It didn't give you too many answers or too many questions.
Yeah, it didn't.
What's the right
It didn't build up the story and then drop all the answers, and it didn't build the story and leave you hanging with tons of questions. It let you have your own interpretations on how you see things turning out.
Okay.
And that's what I really, really enjoyed, because the first one did that so well, and I wasn't sure how this one would do that, if it would go off its own direction or how it would work. but it did just that, and I really, really like that very, very much.
Very cool. I personally thought it was amazing. I think it did a really good job of incorporating like concepts and ideas of like the way the first movie was, because it is kind of an untraditional movie in a few ways, right? And I think this movie did a good job of reflecting that. Like there's a lot of world building, whether it just be like big like landscape shots and like nothing really happening story wise, but it'll just show you a certain scene, and like the soundtrack as well. It like really helps to build like this ominous sort of feeling to it. So I think it did a really good job of like reflecting on how the first movie did that. But what it changed was like how they went about the story, because the first movie has quite a simple story, and the depth comes more so through like some questions and some thinking you can do after the movie is ended, and some ambiguity. But this movie, while it has some of that as well, it had a much more I guess complex story. I mean, it wasn't that complex, but it was much more complex than the first
Grander
movie.
scale.
Grander scale for sure. Just the like multiple kind of storylines kind of going on, and they kind of converge, and some twists and turns here and there. And then I think Blade Runner, the first one, had such a great way of like creating characters, because they weren't necessarily all characters that had a ton of like development throughout the movie, but they're still like really interesting characters, like aesthetically and I don't know, just like concept wise. And I think this movie did a really good job of that as well. Mm-hmm. There is like, I'm not gonna spoil it now, but there's one character in particular who doesn't really have a whole lot of depth, but is still like a really good character in my opinion. And I think pretty much all the characters were really interesting. And yeah, what Tyler said, I think Ryan Gosling was amazing, and I think Harrison Ford. It really seemed like I was maybe a bit fearful that they would just kind of throw him in there as like his Harrison Ford, he's back. Yeah. And I almost kind of got that because he's not in like the very like first section of the movie, but the way they used him was really well done, I thought. I don't honestly have a whole lot of cons. I think there's a few like script things, like a few lines that I was like, oh, that's kind of strange. It took me out of it a little bit, but honestly, I don't really have many problems with it. I think it was, it took the original concept of what the first movie was trying to be, and it just expanded on it in a few different ways.
Yeah, so we talked a bit about it last week. We did a Blade Runner 2049 preview, so I won't retread anything there. But for me, love the first Blade Runner. It's been always bouncing around in like my top 15, like 10. I did an honorable mention. And if you look at, I think movies are just like best made when you look at like acting, direction, art design, writing, and characters, or I guess like acting and the characters in them. I think it's easily in a top 50 as far as like best films all time. But I think it's a movie that I don't think I ever needed a sequel for, like they leave stuff ambiguous, and it's a thing of like, it's great, but it's just that thing of some movies are maybe left better alone, and I thought this was kind of like that. Once they got together their cast and their crew and the director, I was more open to it. I'm a big fan of Denis Villeneuve, which I'll talk a lot about this podcast, but I was open to it, and I think what you guys have already touched on, it does feel like it's Blade Runner evolved in a way. It is, I do think, on a much grander scale, and that's the thing I do like. It's a very different movie than the first one, but it still feels like it's the same world, like same characters when it comes to Harrison Ford, and same moral lessons or same questions, but posed differently in a way. Like, and we'll get into spoilers, but look, there's things that they ask you in the first movie that I think you see from a different perspective in this movie. So I think that's good, where they easily could have just did the same thing. Like I said, it's tough to talk about, but they could have went a very similar route that they did the first one. And there's aspects of the first one that's the same, but it feels completely different, but it's not in that way where, ooh, this doesn't fit the world. Like the second movie starts, you feel like you're back in that movie. And even then it's been jumped, and this is not a big spoiler, it's jumped 30 years, and it feels like there's more technology, but it feels more dark and dreary, like it's less colorful, and it feels like it's more depressing. You'd think the opposite, that like as they go along, a new technology would be brighter and more alive, but the town and the city of Los Angeles felt so dark and dead sometimes, so I love that. Acting was great. Harrison Ford reminded me very much of Force Awakens, where it's, people kind of always knock and like, oh, he kind of phones it in. Force Awakens he didn't, and this he didn't. He has some great scenes. Ryan Gosling is one of these things where it's like, I always talk about Fassbender being the best actor of the 2010 to 2020 era. I still believe that, but Ryan Gosling's like coming up there with the like resume he's putting, so I'm excited to see what happens when we get to 2020 to talk about it. The way I equate this, like honestly, like to dumb it down, is I feel that it's because I've been going all back and forth all night about this and Logan. There's been nothing other than Logan that has impacted me this year like that. There's been things that are close, like Lego Batman or Apes or Guardians, but no film since this and Logan made me feel like I loved all those movies, but I didn't feel like it was equal. So in going back and forth, the way I equate this is Blade Runner, the original, feels a lot like Logan, where it's on a smaller scale, more character-based, more you're with this guy and you're going all the way through, where this is like a Days of Future Past, where you're studying the characters, but it is more of a... There's more objectives in this movie they have to do. Because Harrison Ford sits around a lot in Blade Runner, you know? And it's more about just him and his journey, where this is more about the world, and I like that. And I think they did a great job with that. Yeah, I don't have many cons. I think this is... I cannot wait till this comes out at the end of the year, hopefully on Blu-ray soon, because I need to do a Logan and this double feature, because I'm honestly very torn. A fan asked us in our live chat last week, will be the best movie of the year? I was like, I don't know. I have a pretty big hard-on for Logan right now. And this, like, I was just stunned. This movie is acted so well. It's beautifully shot. The score is different than the original one, and in a good way. At first I was like, they're doing a different route, and it completely works for this movie. There's several moments in this movie that are just a gut punch, which we'll get into, that are just like, they make you feel unease. Again, Denis Villeneuve, it reminded me very much of Arrival when we saw it in theaters. Tyler, the intensity he can bring to a movie is unprecedented. Like, I don't know if anyone can make scenes that are in that tense happen multiple times in a film. You know, there's multiple times where I was on the edge of my seat. And the last thing I'll say is, there's things that I thought they were doing in the movie or were not going to do, and everything that I was worried that I wouldn't like, they didn't do, and I really like that. You could go back last week and listen to it if you wanted a bit more information. We're about to talk about that now, but there's certain routes like, I don't like this, and then I was like, okay, we're going this way. And I was like, they shouldn't do this, and I was like, they're going this way. Like, I was always on the edge of my seat, but always questioning the movie of like, where are we going next? What are we doing? And that was great, and it's 2 hours 45 minutes. Didn't feel like that for me, you know. Like, obviously, there's times where you know it's long, but it doesn't feel like it's a slog. It's a mini spoiler. Cult of Chucky felt longer than Blade Runner 2049. Yeah. You know, when we watched that was a slog. Where this...
Right. Well, it feels like a long movie, but the pacing is really good. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm noticing, all of a sudden, I'm really tired, and I'm noticing how long this movie is, but I never felt like I was out of it, like, story-wise, or, like, any particular scene. Like, I was always kind of captivated, or, like, the transitions are obviously a big part of this movie, and they're just like really long transitions, like sometimes just like a minute long of like someone flying around or something. But yeah, it works to the benefit of the movie for sure.
Yeah, and for me, when I was thinking about what Tyler said about the original, I know I can see it again, I mean, like, I know I could say this after just seeing it once, but I said this to a few people, like, it's such a pretentious thing to say, and I think I may have only used it once on the cast, but like, I just walked out feeling like it was a masterpiece of a movie, because I can't think of anything huge wrong with it. And when you have all those things come together, like we talked about, all the elements of acting, score, writing, all this, like, it just moved so well. And the last thing I'll comment for before we get into spoilers is, you do not know what the movie really is if you've seen the trailers. There's lots of things that they did not reveal in this trailer reveal in the trailers that I'm very happy. That stuff you learn about 20 minutes in, and you learn, like, there's about 3 things you learn really early on, and boom, 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 and easily any one of these things could have been a trailer selling moment. Even the Harrison Ford thing, the way it's incorporated in the movie, you're like, oh yeah, I know he's coming, but you can kind of sense, like, you know he's coming, but it's not in the way that you're thinking of. And I really applaud them for this, because we talk about this all the time with movie trailers, how it can really affect you going into it and make you enjoy it less. Spider-Man Homecoming is a big thing for me, which I don't think I got to enjoy it because I just felt every beat was coming. Where this, so much stuff is a secret. So you don't want to, if you haven't seen the movie, don't listen to anything more, even the first little bits of our spoilers review. You want to go into this blind, you know? That's all I can say, and I highly recommend it too. So, anything non-spoilers we want to say before we get into the nitty-gritty?
No, I'm ready to get into this.
Alright, so spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, get out here. If you have, let's enjoy this ride. Where do we want to start?
Let's start somewhere different. Let's start with the music. So you mentioned that you think it's where do you think it compares to the first one? I feel like the first movie was a little more distinct, and it went in like a lot of different routes. Like I feel like a lot of time in this movie, it's kind of like the same sort of sound. But I think it was well done. Like it really sets that ominous tone and like this impending doom, and like it really works with the darkness of it as well. So I think, I mean, I'd have to listen to them more obviously, but I think I prefer the first movie soundtrack. It just feels a little more like I think some of the soundtrack in this movie feels a bit cliche. It's used well for sure. It's used amazingly, but I think it's they repeat a lot of the same sort of things, but yeah, I don't know.
I guess the reason I like it's the same thing I'm going to say as I'm watching this podcast, that I think I don't know if I like it less or better. I just like it the same as far as because they do different things well. I think the reason I like this being so big, and you've got to see this in the theater, because like you can feel the score in your bones when they're blaring it, and it's great.
Yeah, it's loud, yeah.
I think it's because this, to me, the story is on a bigger scale. You look at Deckard, all really is doing is just investigating a murder and trying to find these replicants, right? But Ryan Gosling is on a case where this one thing could change the very fiber of their entire existence. So that's where I did like the score being a bit grander, and I kind of liked it being what I wanted Force Awakens to be, where it has some new tracks, but I think they did a good job of, okay, they paid some tribute to the original movie, but they made it their own, they made some new tracks, and they adapted it, where it didn't just feel like a retread, which that's where I'm glad, because you could have just done some... I don't think that first Blade Runner score fits in this movie ever. I think there's certain scenes,
I don't think
and
so.
that's...
I mean, it's definitely... It's dated, not in a bad way, but it definitely is a product of its time. Like, I think I get a lot of... my main decade of music is like the 70s, and obviously the movie came out in 82, and there's a lot of different 70s sort of sounds in there as well. And so, I mean, I'm sure they could have made it work, but I think this is just like a more modern take on the same sort of soundtrack, and the same, like, just world and like background.
And it fits that world's evolved too, right? For them, it's 30 years as well. So it's like that way of like, it's a different landscape, it's a different atmosphere. So, because we already talked about that with like the setting and whatnot. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, I was expecting the score to be similar to the first one in many ways, but I mean, at the same time, I didn't know what to expect. I feel like, as you guys said, like the atmosphere and the setting, I think, like you said it really, really well, how the first film's score reflected what was going on in the story, and then this one, it was such a global scale event that could happen in a situation. It really emphasized that. And I feel like, you know, the score in the first film compared to this one, like, you're looking at like the blackout, you're looking at like an ecological, like their ecosystem collapsing, like it's just such a darker kind of tone that has taken over like this new future. So, and that touches on, you said like how there's new technology and everything, but it's also a much darker time as well, because they're recovering from such like insane events. And the music, for me, it being so loud and powerful, really just emphasized the these moments and that storyline, and it just added so much depth to it. And even though most of the time it was one note just being hummed really loudly, it's still, it was amazing how well something so simple, which I like in like scores and music that I listen to, can just carry so much of a powerful scene, or powerful I don't know how to explain that, like powerful moment to the scene. Yeah, that's exactly it. So it blew me away. There's a few tracks, like I want to go back and listen to it.
Listen to it all day.
Listen to it all day. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
what are you listening to? Like,
well, that thing I will say, there's more moments that are quieter. Like the track I've been listening to a lot, it's just literally called "Her Eyes Were Green," and it's the track with when Harrison Ford sees, I guess from spoilers, Rachel. But like there are quieter tracks, and there's the same thing, the track that when Joy is her name, when she goes in the rain the first time, like that's very like sensual and very personal. So there is the like Inception. Obviously Hans Zimmer was a part of this, so like you can tell there is that very overbearing, like kind of overriding your emotions, but there are those quieter moments. And that's, before you go, last shot I gotta give is to Benjamin Wallfish, I think you said how you say his last name, because I loved the hit score. He did that as well, and that did the same thing, where that movie, the score so many times was, along with seeing a fucking scary ass clown, made me feel certain ways. And that's the thing, like he does these things of like, he can make great terror, but the moments with the kids or quieter moments, like the score was great in that. And just another thing, so I gotta look up more of his work, but so far 2 movies back to back, I've just been thrilled with what he's doing, because there's a good variation in it. It's not just always overbearing or always, you know, like sensual or whatnot.
There are a couple things that really come to mind for this for the score here. One of the bigger things is that I noticed between the original Blade Runner and this one is that the original Blade Runner, it felt more alive in a way, the score, and it was constantly going throughout the movie, and it just had a lot of really weird elements to it that
and
kind
it would
of
change in
yeah,
scenes
exactly,
too,
and it really reflected what life was like then, and or how life would have been in that world at that time. It was very busy, very bustling, and just everything seemed very alive despite it being very downtrodden in a way. And then the music was just constant throughout the original Blade Runner. I felt like there were some quiet parts, obviously, but for the most part, there's almost always a score going on.
Right.
In this one, I noticed there's actually a lot of just silence during transitions and just very broad and grand visual shots.
Ryan Gosling is finding Deckard for the first time.
And
he just
walks it's just these grand shots, but no music whatsoever. And I thought the visuals just made those shots absolutely amazing. You didn't need the music to kind of keep you through those transitions and keep you attentive. It was just phenomenal visuals, but we can get into that later. I really liked how they made to go with the world, instead of having this soundtrack seem more alive, it was very overbearing and it felt almost industrial in a way, which is exactly how the world was. It felt like a dead world that was just covered in industry rather than really being alive. Especially with how, they mentioned in the film that one prostitute has never seen a tree. Yeah. And they have the dead tree there, and with the collapse of ecosystems, it just really fit how the world evolved. The score just evolved with the world, and I thought it was just absolutely amazing and really set the tone for the film.
Yeah. Well, similar to what you're talking about, and Taylor, when you're talking about the one note humming all the time, for me, I almost took it as talking about the world being dead. It's almost like a flat line when it's just that constant just that noise when someone flatlines, just and that's what that was, where it was just, obviously it wasn't the flatline noise, but that's what I kind of got from it at times, was this place was dead, and it was just these big notes and whatnot. And the other scene that I would shout out that it had a huge amount of emphasis on was the final battle that he had with Love. I thought the score was so great when they're on there fighting the water and he has to put her down and everything like that. That was phenomenal, because I just feel my heart being an instant. I just feel like they used it so well. There's never anything that stuck out oof, this didn't fit a certain scene in Planet of the Apes for me. It was 100% always felt like it was there. And then Ty brought it up, I didn't even think about that till you brought that up last night. There is a lot of silence in there. There's a lot of just Gosling looking around.
The sound's part of the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So track of nothing.
Track of nothing.
Yeah.
The sound of silence. I had so one more thing. The scene when Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling first kind of interact, and they're fighting in that, I guess it's a
casino
theater, casino sort of thing. And there's that hologram of Elvis Presley singing that song. I don't know, for me personally, that was it was kind of funny, but it also very emotional, because that's my parents' wedding song. And I saw the movie with my parents, and I know that they just were so happy, and my dad, classic, was even singing along a little bit. It's Dad, you do not understand theater etiquette at all, but I'm okay with it for this particular situation. And my sister's wedding was a couple weeks ago, and one of our family friends sang that song for them as well. So and that wasn't, it did that emotion doesn't really fit the scene, but for me it was just such a personal moment, and I don't know, I thought that was really cool. And it was just a cool scene in general, how it's kind of cutting in and out as they're fighting. And then I love the end of that scene when Harrison Ford's just I want to just get a drink instead.
No, I'd have to watch it again, but I think it's between that and maybe the ending, but that was my favorite scene in the movie, just because I thought that was kind of the equivalent to the dollhouse or the toy house scene in Blade Runner. I was okay, when they gonna have some kind of weird trippy thing, and that was the best thing. It would have been cool if the whole time it played Elvis singing, but I love the skipping and the stopping, because it continually built that tension of, Harrison Ford takes a step, he's looking around, and now he can't hear Kay because the music's blaring because Elvis, or there's a dancer in his way or something like that. I think they used it really well, and that's what I got out of it. It was kind of the equivalent to the toy scene, and I think that was really well done. And I think that was a really good scene. I think it was
very good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Story I wanted to bring up then, I guess, next. So obviously we talk about Blade Runner. It's just Harrison Ford has to get these 4 replicants, and as things go on, he kind of, I guess he goes on the run, really, but it's pretty simple. Like, not much happens.
Right.
Where this, a lot of stuff happens. So let's just start, maybe we'll go beat by beat. Let's just start by where you caught off guard that Ryan Gosling, first 5 minutes in, he's a replicant. Then right away he drops that. Yeah?
I was as well.
Yeah.
I like how they didn't straight up say he was a replicant, but it was just like a lot of the people he passed in the street were just like being very bigoted towards him.
Well, he at one point did say he was a replicant. He said, I'm a newer model. To Batista, yeah.
When he kills the other replicant at the start.
Yeah.
Even then, like, it wasn't straight up saying I'm a replicant.
Yeah.
In a way. And like he didn't mention that until the very end of their conversation too. Like there's quite a bit of build up to it, I guess.
Mm.
But yeah, no, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming at all, and I think it makes for a really interesting take on the movie because obviously, like you were just saying, like the story is a lot different and a lot more complex than the first Blade Runner, but obviously like just changing that dynamic, and I mean there's that possibility that Deckard is a replicant, but changing that dynamic of your main character, who I mean at the start of the movie he is just doing kind of the same thing. He's a Blade Runner, and changing just that dynamic of one's a human, one's a replicant. I mean, I know it's kind of ambiguous for Deckard, but
at the same...
I like that they switch that up, and it's I like that it's obvious. I think because I don't know. I feel like that was something that we already kind of got with the first movie, and we didn't need that like is he not question again this whole movie. So I think just right off the bat, like first couple scenes popping that is a great idea. Yeah,
well I like it for multiple reasons. One, no matter if you think he's a replicant or not, Deckard, the Blade Runner is not portrayed that way till the very end. It's portrayed from a human standpoint. At the end, it's supposed to make you think and go back and watch it, but your guide is he's a human, you know. And in my story, because that's one of the things they didn't reveal in this, and we'll get to that later. In my story, he's a human. He's still a human in this. There's not enough to sway me either way. So, in my world, I like that Blade Runner 1 is the perspective. That's what I was talking about earlier. Same perspectives, or same ideology being explained. Ideology being looked at, but it's from different perspectives. And that's why I like right away he's a replicant. And you can see where in Blade Runner it's almost romanticized being a replicant because they all love each other and they care a lot about each other. But Ryan Gosling's replicant is very different because there's much more of a sense of them being accepted into the world. Yeah. So in that way, it's not really sugar-coated of, I think the older replicants, like with Tyrell, were maybe raised a bit differently, and they maybe weren't told they're a replicant, like you're just, these people, this is your job, where you can tell, like, pretty early on they know they're a replicant, and he's dealing with that he feels he's not good enough for this world, he doesn't have a soul because he's not a human. Like, he doesn't think as a, like, they're not robots, but as a robot, you couldn't have the same qualities that a human could. And they talk about that with childbirth and everything like that. There's still things that no matter how close we get, we can't be like them. They're always above us. Like you talked about, Tyler, like the racism, the classic skin job they call them. And I liked that because we didn't get that with like Deckard. He was just a guy doing his job with this. Like he's not afraid to go home, but he knows like the second he steps into his apartment, he knows he has to make that slog through his apartment and get harassed and stared down, things like that. Like that was that I liked about that. Almost replicants in the first Blade Runner were more rare. That they maybe I think there was still hatred toward them, but there was more of a kind of a sparkle in people's eyes, like ooh these robots, like this is cool. Where now they're just so accepted. It's just like well they're taking our jobs, and that's the second thing I like that we talk about all the time. Like oh Deckard probably is a Blade Runner because like they want a robot, a replicant to do that, right, to hunt them down. Whether he's not, that doesn't matter. This makes sense in the evolution of the franchise to be like let's get a really highly trained, highly skilled, we can program this person to be a Blade Runner and have all these attributes instead of having to hope that a human can take on a robot, right? So once again, other ways of spinning it and doing it differently. And I love that. The second I heard that, because same thing as you did, I didn't want the, is it not, we played with that already. Like, let's have his story be something different, so.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting it. There's not much else that needs to be said.
Again, trailer didn't show it though.
Yeah.
That's another thing. They easily could have been like, oh, and I'm a replicant, and this is my story. Like, once again, it's a reveal in the first 5 minutes.
That'd be so over the top.
Well, yeah, true, but
this is my story.
There could have been, like, they could have showed a scene with him and Ron White talking, and she could have had a line where she reveals he's a replicant, right? Where it's like, it's not a huge twist because it happens in 5 minutes, but you sitting there watching that, you're like, oh, okay, because I actually thought going in this movie he was a human, you know? Because I didn't really think about it, but I liked it, and then obviously that's played around with a lot, so what would be the next story beat we want? Well, I guess the other thing, I want to talk about this quickly, I want to talk about his wife, because another thing the trailer did not reveal the whole time, or his girlfriend, I guess, Joy. I just thought she was a human or a replicant. Like the trailers again did not show
Oh
her
yeah,
being.
in the trailers.
Yeah, not showing her being like a little translucent or anything like that. Phenomenal, and I liked that whole angle of this. He is a replicant, but being in love with like another piece of machinery, another piece of technology, and it shows that.
It just goes one level deeper.
Yeah, it shows again they've evolved. They're falling in love with technology themselves. Like they're not the newest technology anymore. And I loved it. We'll talk about more stuff, but everything they did with her was great. The actress was great. I've discovered her in Knock Knock, where it's a really bad movie, but good for her. She's in this, and she did a great job. So yeah, another thing in the trailer that I liked that they didn't show.
Yeah, I really loved that character. I thought it was so much fun to like see, because obviously that's not something we really had in like the first movie, or at least maybe it was like a tiny bit, but they really went over the top with it. And yeah, I like it when he goes to that little console, it like pops like her stats and he can just like change stuff. And yeah, I think the way they used the character was so well done. That scene when she goes out in the rain for the first time and she's just experiencing it is like so emotional. And then when she just like kind of glitches out,
Because
like
he gets a text.
yeah, like that's, I don't know, it's so funny. And I think that was a great way this movie like asked a kind of separate, like maybe like philosophical sort of question than the first movie did. And because she seems like so normal and great, and it seems like obviously she's super cute as well.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a couple scenes where it's like, this is like kind of a little bit weird, or like this is a little unsettling.
Well, the sex scene especially.
Yeah, the
puts
sex
that
scene
on.
is like, I thought that scene was amazing. Like, that was that just like the way they filmed it, it looked so good. Like there was no problems with the CGI of that.
And the way the whole scene, things were slightly out of sync.
Yeah, perfect. Because if it was
goodness.
just in sync, you'd be like, okay, but like the little like nuance of like Mackenzie Davis' head moving first and then her head moving and everything like that. And I think you brought like it's like a scene where it's like loving because she wants to like connect with him, but at the same time like she's not fully connected with him because that's not her body, you know. She's just using the aesthetic of like, oh, I'm Joy, I'm the woman you love, but really it's like, I'll have to look up her name, but the Mackenzie Davis, the prostitute who's kind of like undercover, like it's her body, so she's not experiencing these sensations and everything like this. And
and like the way, oh man, I just love the way it was shot. There's like multiple hands kind of caressing his head, and like when it's like Joy's face, but then the other girl, we need to find out that character.
I'll look it up. Yeah,
she like leans forward a little bit and then her face comes out.
Yeah, and then it's like her hair the whole time too, because that's like obviously quite a bit like bigger and stuff. And I thought that scene was so wonderfully shot and like really suspenseful, but then it also was like, this is kind of weird. Like I feel
even the next
a little
morning
unsettled.
It felt weird for them, right?
Yeah,
when like she leaves and they get the coffee and everything like that. Like it felt like it was. I don't know if that's what you can read into. It feels like we did that, but there's almost a sense of a little regret in a way. Like it's that thing like, oh, I thought this could be great, but I don't know. Like because it's like you didn't have sex with Joy, you know.
And
like
it's not even only Ryan Gosling, Kay's, I guess, that might have felt a little bit of regret. You see in the morning how Joy appears to the prostitute and she's like, okay, I'm done with you, get out. Mm-hmm. And you could see that she was made, like, even she had a very human reaction to it. Yeah. Being like, I kind of regret this. I don't want to share Kay with anyone, maybe, or something. Yeah. So it's a very interesting scene for sure.
I can't remember when it happens in the movie. It's such a long movie, but there's at one point when it's a scene with Joy and Kay, and then I don't know, they're doing something, they're having fun, but then it like cuts to another scene, and it's just like her ad somewhere, like a hologram ad, and I thought that was another moment of like it being a little uneasy, right?
Because other people have
this,
like this version of your life or whatever.
It becomes so impersonal instantly, and oh man, I love that little shot. It's such a like subtle thing, but it just makes you like.
Well, even the big one too, I think is supposed to be her that touches him, but it's just like the blue hair and different eyes. So it's like all around, she's like just this image is used to sell. Like it's probably more sex, I think, or just a companion. I think obviously he becomes more attached than maybe other people do, but it just is like. Even though he's sleeping with this prostitute in a way, like this machine is kind of like a prostitute in a way, like he's paid for the services, he's paid for her to be there, and yes, she does have human emotions, but at the same time, she's very much programmed to be like a computer, because at one point when you feel like she's telling him, oh, you're special, you're this, you need more.
Always super positive.
Yeah, which at one point in the movie it feels like, oh, he is special, like he is like the chosen one, right? But then after that's happened, she still says that, but it's like, no, like you're just saying that, even right before she's about to get killed, her, like, yeah, it could be a human emotion she's trying to say I love you, but at the same time you'd feel like that's what she's programmed to be.
Yeah.
She's about to get destroyed. What would be the last thing you'd say to him? Oh,
Yeah.
well, you're programmed to say I love you, you know? And like all those things that
I love how they
perfection.
made that like a big part of the movie. Like she has a solid amount of screen time.
Oh yeah.
And what for seems like something that might be just like a little thing in the background, but the way they like make it a huge part of the story and building Kay as a character, man, I'm so glad they did that. Like it was so well done.
Even when he's looking through the files and she's kind of like his Jiminy Cricket on his shoulder, where she's not even fully up, she's just kind of like holding his butt, like she's kind of like levitating over him, like talking to him about stuff, you know. Taylor, what do you feel about Joy?
I really, really liked her. I mean, I had no idea that she would have been a hologram. Like, a lot of things you said, like, I couldn't agree more with. I think she was just a very, very awesome, interesting character. And to have that perspective, again, of not from a replicant, but of a different form of technology, just really added to the story. And just showed how in-depth and expansive this whole world was with the technology. I mean, it sucks that she died, because I actually really, really liked her as a character. But
You knew it was coming. The second they're like, oh, if you put me in here, and if it breaks, that's it. It's like, that was like, okay. And not that that's bad storytelling, because movies can be predictable if it makes sense where it's going, and they did it well. But right when they did that, it's like, well, she's a goner. She's not making it out of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, at least they do something with it. Like, she goes on his adventures with him, and she's hanging out a lot. So, yeah.
I really liked, like, as sad as it was that she died, it just brought more depth and development to Ryan Gosling's character.
100%.
So it was great.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, I guess the next chapter is we get like a lot of like him working the case, and obviously they find that container in. I don't know that guy's name either. I have to look it up because Mackenzie Davis' name was Mariette.
Mariette?
Yeah, Mariette.
Okay.
That was the prostitute, and Batista was Sappy Morgan. So they find that case there. It's Rachel's remains, which I had a feeling was gonna be, just when they found the hair. I was like, oh, that's 100% Rachel. So obviously that happens. He's looking for the child, and I'm just putting in generalization. And then he is starting to think for a while that he is the son, because I guess the other thing I skipped was that they found the replicants. Rachel was pregnant, gave birth. They don't know how this is possible, and his mission is to go find the son. What did you think about just on the whole, when you were first hearing this, like you see Rachel, the mission of finding like the child or whatever, like what were you feeling in this moment, and him thinking he was the possibilities of him being the son, because he's constantly having like flashbacks, like Deckard was of like this like wooden horse and the fire and everything like that. So what did you guys feel about that portion of the film? What was happening?
Taylor, what do you got?
Yeah, you start, because you always laugh.
You're taking everything from me. I feel bad.
He's like, I got nothing.
I feel like, because as we talked about briefly, the memories that were put with him they were live memories, but it was just a twist to cover their tracks, just keep everything more secret and everything. So I understand that, but at the end of the day, I feel like there's just, I don't know why, it's just knocking on my head that there's something more there that, like, he's...
Oh my god!
Continue.
You talk about this on the car, I completely disagree.
I just, the way this movie, the way it's set up, I just feel like it leads you to your own interpretation, as I said, and I feel like, yes, this character is obviously, like, met his fate, but I mean, I feel like there was more to him, and I feel like they definitely did a good job of implying that. And
in the car were saying that you still felt like there was a possibility of twins being born instead of a child. And I completely disagree with that theory, because multiple people say it was just a girl, and they did that, like the records to show they just took it from someone else that was already living. I don't believe that he had any, and I guess we're skipping to it as far as like, okay, he thought it was him and then he finds out it's not him. But I do not think at all. And I think that would hurt the movie for me if he was related to him, because I like that he looks at him like as a surrogate father, because he was just kind of fooled the whole movie, because that twist in the middle would mean nothing if he finds out, oh, I'm not related, and then it's like, no, you really are. Like, I think that's what I can't support you on a theory of, like, he could be related. I don't think so. I think it's just the Dream Maker or whatever.
Yeah, that's fair enough, because, I mean, it's just I won't back it up 110%, because I know, like, I've seen the movie, so I know how it ends, but, I mean, it's just, like, an interpretation that just kind of is nagging in the back of my mind. I mean, just...
man, you do you. I think that is a potential possibility, and you should.
There's so many different ways to look at this film that I feel like it's fine. You can have your opinion on.
Well, thank you.
Wrong. I'm saying wrong.
Get out of here, Chad. I personally prefer the twist of it, and I think they did it really well, because the first I don't know, probably, what is it, hour 45 of the movie. They never, as far as I'm aware, they don't mention that it's a daughter. They just say it's like a kid or a child. And then it's somewhere in the last hour that they mention that it was a girl, a daughter, and then it kind of, you know, I guess that's actually probably in the last like half an hour. It's probably right.
It is, yeah, because they think it's just a child, and then he finds out that there's 2 separate records, so he knows it's either a boy or a girl. And then they reveal to him that like it was a girl, like and then that moment is so crushing when I can't remember her name, but she tells him like, oh, like you thought you were the child, like, and she's like, we've all wanted to be the child, you know, and that is the biggest thing about his portion of the story, Gosling's story, and Kay's. It's just that Harrison Ford to me was trying to find meaning in humanity. Kay's trying to find just a meaning in himself, and the whole movie he is going through a range of emotions, and man is he getting fucked with it, just going through the mud, like thinking he's nobody to thinking he's this once in a lifetime person that has been born from whether it's a replicant and a hero. Either way, a replicant gave birth. Like you are pretty much just like a version of Christ or Jesus. You know, like you would change the game to being told no, like that's a lie. You're just like the rest of us. You're just one of us. And like that's probably like a week maybe, not even a few days.
Joy in there too.
Joy and all this other stuff, and like that whole scene where he is with Deckard and he's like, you can feel like he's trying to build up to tell me he's his dad. Like he also thought that he found a parent, you know, which I was again like, man, Civil War, Star Wars, we're back to the parents.
That he thought was impossible.
Exactly. So at one point in the movie, you have from the middle of him being empty to the middle of he think like there's a whole life that he didn't know about that he could find, to the end almost having less than he did before, other than maybe having a purpose to he could change the world. And everything about that I loved. And there's just certain scenes like that scene when he finds out that when he thinks he finds out like he's the son and he's chosen, like the way Ryan Gosling reacts and he's just like yelling and screaming damn it, like phenomenal. Like, sir, you just made it on the Golden Geeks Best Actor nomination thing. I say, because like that was phenomenal. He didn't have too many emotion scenes. Like I don't think he even smiles in the movie once. You know, like but the times where he had to be emotional, that moment, and when they told him he was a replicant, he's not even breaking down. Just the way his face is tearing up and he's trying to ball in, phenomenal. Like it's a really great subtle performance.
Why is it then when his memories are based off of being real memories, he's imagining it of a boy?
Because she put that in there, so it's like
I took it as that kid looked like it could have been a boy or a girl.
That too, actually too, because when they did that, she did kind of look like a girl. So
when they show it again, with like from the perspective later that it is a daughter, it's like, oh yeah, I don't know, I just assumed that was a guy because I wanted Ryan Gosling to be the son. Yeah. But then boom, tricks you, and I mean I thought that, like, does that answer, like, your question?
It makes sense, yeah.
And even then, if it wasn't, you could easily just put your memories, but like, oh, you're making a male replicant, so, I'll make this a boy, right? Like, even if it was that simple.
That personalized a little bit, but I thought that character, the daughter, like, it's such a bizarre character, like, her profession is that she creates really realistic memories, and she's really good at it, like, it's one of those classic, like, Blade Runner, just really wonky characters, but
that's an occupation.
It's an occupation in this world, and it like that scene when it's like her in like the forest, like that's really weird because you at no point in the movie, like I guess in like the desert, the sandy area, you kind of get some brightness like that, but that's really the most life you see in the entire movie. But then it kind of just trips you out, and I think that's a perfect setup for that character and how talented she really is, because in this world, in this movie where everything is so dead and dark, like it's just the complete opposite of that, right? And then I love the dynamic of like the little wooden horse. I feel like that kind of it's kind of similar to like how there's a unicorn in the first movie.
It incorporates the paper mache in a way.
And I think that was a good homage to the first movie and that dynamic of it, like having that little token sort of thing. So I love that storyline. Well, I think that twist was so well done. I mean, it wasn't really like the most complex twist that had like 500 layers to it. It was just a couple little things that were timed and paced so well through the movie to keep you interested and intrigued and build you up to just think that Kay is Deckard's son, and then it just strikes it right from you. I loved it.
Well, before I forget, because I want to talk about that twist next, I love the scene where Kay is outside, or I guess Joey becomes Joe, is outside at the very end, and he's touching like the actual snow, and then it just literally transitions from his hand touching the snow to switch it over to her hand touching the snow, but you have this replicant who's fake touching real snow, where you have this human who's real touching fake snow.
Yeah,
And that's the
that's
thing
cool.
of like the most
I like that.
the most lively things are created in this fake world. Again, almost being that like the replicants are more human than human, right?
Yeah.
Like she can create snow, she can create a birthday party, she can create this forest, something they can't do, something that's impossible. Everything's really dried out and land's dying. Like Jared Leto talks about that like planets need our help and everything like that. It's really rare to see anything live as far as a tree or something like that.
Yeah.
So what I was gonna say, because we told the twist, that's where the movie won me over, because I was not a fan of if he was gonna be the son, to be honest. Because I would have hated that. He happens to be the son. He becomes a detective, and he just happens to get on the case that his dad is on. Oh, waka waka! Like I hate movies that do that. I was not hating it because they were doing it so well. I was like, okay, I can accept this, but it's not the right way to go. But the second they're like, oh, it's a girl, that made it so much more better for me, and I'm happy because many movies do that. They'll go for the obvious, like, this is the chosen one, this is the son, you know. And I was really happy that we got a twist, and then we got a twist, and then we got another twist, and like they all, like you said, it wasn't like, oh, you had to put this and this together. Characters really spelled it out for you. It was pretty simple for
Yeah,
some
it's not like a
aspects.
Saw where you have to see it multiple times to truly know
Yeah.
what's going on. Like you understand everything at the end of the movie. Yes, there is like some ambiguity and there's some questions, but
Yeah.
you feel like you understand the plot.
But I love that. Would you have felt any differently if they would have went with, oh, he was the son?
I wouldn't have liked that because
Yeah.
when it was happening, like I was liking it enough because you know it's a good movie and like the characters are good, the acting's good. So I was like, okay, like
give it a pass.
I could like it, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like Force Awakens kind of did this where Harrison Ford has this surprise mystery son. And I'm like, if Ryan Gosling turns out to be his son and then kills him, I'm gonna fucking walk out. Like that would have ruined this great story that we had going on. What do you guys think?
I don't know.
I already decided.
I thought I already talked about it.
No, but what
initially-
what would you have felt if he was the son? Like, what were you feeling that moment? Because there's like literally an hour where they're telling you like he's the I'll just keep calling him the chosen one. Like this replicant. Were you fine with that, or were you wanting to be different, or?
Keep continuing.
Yeah, that's just the question.
I
Transitions.
initially thought they were
We'll
gonna
get there
leave
one
it
day.
more. I didn't think they were gonna keep it at him for sure being the son. I thought they were gonna left it at least ambiguous to some degree, which I would have been okay with. I still think it would have been like a good film, and then you kind of had to decide between two characters who's the actual child is, I guess, and then who the real replicant is. And but I'm really glad they did go with the twist in the end with making it like certain that it's the daughter. But one thing I really liked about it was it gets you to thinking, like, does it really matter who the daughter is, and like what's the difference between Gosling and the other daughter? Like how does their relationship with Harrison Ford or Deckard at least change, because they have similar memories obviously, and they both see him in a similar light. Even you could honestly even look at Gosling having a much more impactful meaning to him.
Because he's been looking for him.
Yeah, exactly. Where she has no idea.
Yeah.
Like, as far as she's concerned, she's just a regular person who grew up who never knew her parents.
That's another one of those good Blade Runner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think they got a lot more out of it making it the twist, but I think the movie would have been fine if they hadn't. I don't think they needed to do it, but it definitely made it a better film.
Well, the last thing too, like you were talking about, of like him feeling very connected to Harrison Ford. That's the thing I did like as well, is that if he was just his dad, you're like, okay, he's definitely gonna go save him. There's no conflict here. Like, it's your dad. You've never met him. But at the end, when it's like this man, like to him it means something, but really it means nothing to you, because it's like you've never met him. He's not your father. You're just another one of us. But he actually makes that choice to go save.
Yeah, because they
Deckard.
tell him to actually go kill him.
Yeah,
Deckard.
yeah, and that's where if him not being his son, there's much more conflict. Of like he could easily kill him. He could just bounce off, say, "Hey, I'm gonna save myself," but he makes that choice as a replicant, a person, to go save a guy that. Even then, and that's the other thing. This movie is great because it's not, oh, if you save Deckard, you save the world. None of this is like world-ending stuff. It's all personal stuff of a daughter, a son, a child, Deckards Past. Other than like Leto saying like, oh, these plants need us, but it's not like there's a bomb or they have the key. It's just that we want to save these people, and he makes that choice, and I like that, because if it was his son, well, of course he's gonna make that his choice because it's his dad.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't get any conflict like, oh, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna kill him because of his dad? He's not gonna kill him. He's gonna want to talk to him, but there's a door open now, like, oh, he might kill him, because at one point when he shoots Love, I thought he shot him as well, because at one point he just shoots and there's just blood. You see, first I was like, oh man, he just took out Deckard like nothing, like man, but I was like, okay, no, He's fine.
The fake out.
So Taylor, what did you feel about if it was for that? Like I said, that hour. Were you digging at being him as the son or the child, or were you on the fence? Where were you at that moment?
I was following along with it and kind of believing it because I wasn't expecting that to happen because I'm not versed in the whole Blade Runner universe as well as you guys, but I wasn't expecting.
They've also just seen it the same day you did.
Yeah, but they've got a little more backstory. I feel like they're
We're making excuses.
Your family likes it.
that's
You
okay.
watch the spin-offs, so
Spin-offs.
spin-offs.
Tell me about these spin-offs.
But I'm happy with the way it ended. I was okay with him either being the son or not. To be honest, like if they left it with him like not answering it, whether he was or he wasn't, I would have been much more okay with that. But
much more
okay. Yeah, just kind of playing off that whole thing that the film does, where it's like, I'm not gonna tell you, I'm not gonna let you like ask the question, but I'm gonna let you decide for your own, and then in 30 years you get to know again.
Do you think it could have been accused though of, hey, Blade Runner ended with a big question, like you're just ending with another big question, in that sense of like they didn't answer if he was the child? Like it's kind of a repeat in that way, right? Where it's like it keeps up with that, but like
that thing though.
the only reason is because the biggest question from Blade Runner still isn't answered, so it's like that's already we already have that door open. So I just don't know if I want to live in the world where we have to debate for the next 3 years. Oh, is Deckard replicant, and oh, is he his son? Because then it's like I liked the closure of we know that's the daughter, and the closure of Kate's likely gonna die on that steps, and that's what I like because Blade Runner doesn't have that closure. It leaves you. I like the ending shot of this movie. Harrison Ford putting his hand up against the glass, and like maybe they'll be happy, maybe they won't. But
yeah.
I liked the closure. Who knows? We could get more. I'm gonna talk
Yeah,
about
I like
the
how
end,
that it just like cuts to black right after that. Right after that, like hand on the window thing.
Yeah, like it still leaves me with questions, but I actually didn't want any like bigger questions. I like that it was resolved and it felt earned all the stuff that was resolved. Or if we would have had that big question, I would have felt like okay, they felt they needed a kind of like Saw when we're reviewing them, right? It's like every movie feels like it needs a twist. Where sometimes it's like. This didn't really work out. You just did it because, like, oh, that's our gimmick. We do a twist, so, like, that can hurt us. So, do we have anything more to add on? Like, also, we're going to talk about more, but Joe or Kay or anything in his story or mission? No?
Not quite.
He'll probably come again. So, let's talk about Wallace and Love. Let's talk about the antagonists because Wallace is pretty much clear-cut. Like, if you've seen the shorts or even the description, they tell you at the beginning, like, the crawl. Like, he came in, he had more improved replicants, he saved the world from famine, all this, and he's all about, like, mining different planets to try and save them. And that's his big goal in this, is to mine them or, like, to help them out. How did we feel about... Let's start with him, and then we can get into Love. But how do we feel about him, and then... Because he's not in it that much, really.
No, he's not.
Two,
Like,
three
Love is in
scenes.
it a lot more.
He's more of a side character than antagonist in a way because he doesn't even have any necessarily bad evil viewpoints. There's very morally ambiguous viewpoints. Yeah,
he does want to like dissect a person.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd say like Love is much more of an antagonist, and it seems like she is acting a lot more on her own than. I didn't think that. I feel like she has more of a general directive from Wallace, and then she's making all like she's the one making the decision to kill.
I kind of got the feeling that she pretty much followed his orders completely, even though she didn't necessarily like it. Like,
that's what I got too.
When she kills the cop, the captain, whatever, and she has like that tear down her eye, like she still did it. She may have been like a bit sad and maybe she didn't want to, but she still did it anyway. And because Wallace is her creator, I always felt like she was in debt to him. I took the same way as Dylan. Was like, she's doing all this stuff because she has to, and like at the end when she's like, I'm the best, like there's part of her that wants to be valued more than everybody over Wallace, and that's the thing where you constantly got this vibe of, for me, of wanting to impress and do good for Wallace, and just wanting to prove to herself that I am the best. And I got the exact same thing, that all the stuff she was doing, he said down to her, and that's because to me, like I think he was ambiguous for a while until the scene with Deckard in the middle, where it's like, oh, this guy's like a real piece of shit, like when you take out the corpse, like the skull of the mother of your child, and you just put it in front of the guy, I'm like, yeah, this guy's kind of an asshole. Like, like he's a really bad dude. Where at first, like, okay, he's maybe trying to fix the world, but when it's like, and like that scene, that's what I thought with non-spoilers. When they bring out Rachel, and like I had a feeling it was coming, but when you see her heels and like, oh, what a gut punch! And Harrison Ford acts that so well. Like him to act out like
seeing this woman he's never seen for 30 years, the woman he loved for the first time, the same age that he was, that to me is what made Jared Leto's Wallace like despicable. Like I hated him in that moment so much, and just the line like her eyes were green, perfect.
Yeah.
Like what, and like you could see Wallace's face, like he's like mad about it,
And
like,
then even like the grimace when he hears like the shot of killing her anyway,
Yeah.
even though he obviously knows that it's just a fake.
Yeah.
But he still like has that reaction to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that
just,
scene
oh.
was super well done.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you're a longtime fan of Jared Leto a lot, Leto was phenomenal in this movie. I actually really liked him. That scene with Ford when he's just talking to him, I was like, where was this in Suicide Squad? Like, where was this? Like, it did feel where the short, like I wasn't vibing with him, but the movie did. But that scene with Ford is maybe, like, that's one of my favorite scenes in this movie. He's so intimidating, but he still feels like he's making a good case of why he needs the daughter, right? Because it's like we can evolve. There's all this stuff, and like but that's the thing. Does he want to save people? Does he want more money? It's great, but Leto he's great. I want that when we see the Joker again.
Notoriously, Leto and Nintendo are like the two things we hate on the most on this cast. So yeah, for me, it was a major turning point. I'm like, okay, I can now give this guy a chance because I know he actually has some skills, and I thought the character was super interesting because he always just like he has like those eyes, like I don't know, is he blind? I think he's kind of blind. He's got and then he's got like those little microchips behind his ear, and he's just kind of like he's kind of just like strung out on technology, and I thought that was, I don't know, kind of it's weird, it's cool, and I think he definitely pulls the creepy vibe, like that scene when they have like that naked girl like pop out of that womb thing, whatever it is, and just the way he acts and like the way he touches her is super weird. I just felt like uncomfortable, and yeah, he did a really good job, and I love the way like his mannerisms in this movie, like the way he would just like look around like as if he was as if he was in like some VR world experiencing it.
Well, I
right?
think he kind of is. Like Ty pointed out, I think
I
those
wouldn't be
things going
surprised.
around
the
are
little things
him.
flying around. Those are cameras that you would see.
Yeah, and I think they give him the vibe like people have seen Daredevil on Netflix, where he sees, but he sees like in his expression like a world on fire. That's the way I feel, like he sees that, or he feels things in like a very like technological way, like he would see like people's bones moving and this and that, and that's what I like. Like he's this huge grand visionary that saved the world, yet he's blind, you know, and that's another like Blade Runner thing where it's like, oh, just like cute playing on that, but it makes sense because he's this guy that you also would think him maybe being a little messed up makes sense because like he has an enormous amount of pressure on him, like the amount of work that he has to do and he has done in the past, like they flat out say like he was responsible for a lot of humans surviving,
saved the human race with his farming.
Yeah, so like there's no way you're not getting a godplex.
Oh yeah, and then
that's it, a godplex. There's no way you're getting a godplex from that. Like,
because
no way.
He now feels responsible for the human race and thinks of himself as a god, and he needs to create these replicants or find a way to make more replicants so that they can have more than just 9 planets.
And because
he straight up says like 9 planets is
not enough,
not nearly what they should have, and how he says they should have basically like the stars, like they should have whatever they want. Really.
Yeah, and plus I like that there's still an undertone of like he's this amazing creator, yet he can't crack the code of what Tyrell did to find a way to make them reproduce, right? Because I love when he's like, that's his last trick, you know, can't figure it out. I love that like he's done all this, but there's one thing he can't do, and that's why he wants
and
this.
He hates it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Does he want it for the good of mankind? Does he want it for himself? Does he want it for money? And that's the thing, like, I don't know if there'll ever be another one, but I can't believe I'm saying this, but like I would want that character to come back because I feel like there's more open. I like that.
There's a lot more for that.
I like that Kay didn't go back and be like, I'm gonna get my ship and go like kill him and assassinate him now. It's like I like that's like no, like he chose like they got away, now they're running. Like they're not gonna go back and be badass and try and take him out. It's like I like that because in real world, if you escape from your captive, you're not gonna go back and be like, okay, it's time to fuck him up. Like no, you're gonna stay away, and that's what I love. Like so many things, I love how they handled it. Taylor. Wallace.
I feel like
very similar to you.
It's Taylor Field actually.
Taylor Wallace. It's a godplex.
I thought like I was blown away by it. Like I was trying not to see like hunka right there as he was doing his stuff, but you know, he did a very good job, and he creeped me out, and he definitely acted like he owned the world, all 9 planets actually, and like he had every right to feel that way. Like you said, like he practically like saved the human race, and like he did he blew me away with his performance. But between him and Love, I definitely feel like a lot of things that you said, I definitely agree with, and I also feel like she was very afraid of him. Just at times when he was saying things, she looked like she was so uncomfortable and she could
crush
herself. She could, yeah. Which
She's
is
a fucking
ironic.
badass, dude.
Yeah.
Those legs, those are some metal Star Fox legs right there. Like,
We never saw her skin, so you never know, right?
Yeah.
it's probable.
So that's how I kind of took it. I mean, I think Love was she was a fantastic character too, like as a replicant and everything. And her dynamic and relationship with Ryan Gosling, I really liked. Like it was very like she was using him obviously for the story to track down where the child was, but I feel like it was just a little bit more.
Well, she had a sexual tension with him because she says that thing when they're watching Deckards. Oh, I love this movie. Deckards and Rachel's tapes. And he's like, oh, he's asking her a lot of personal questions. And he's like, oh, well, people ask other people personal questions to make them feel important.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, well, how long have you been a call? Like, she asks him something
Then she asks him a personal question.
Yeah, and then they just kind of move along because Wallace is
then
there.
He doesn't give a shit.
And then she just randomly at the end, before she, like, almost kills him, like, kisses him.
Yeah.
She stabs him, kisses him. She's like, I'm the best. She's so fucking good. She's like, I'm the best one.
Man.
There's so many layers to her, but that's the thing, like, I think she felt very much like the Terminator that way, right? She has a goal, she's gonna get to it no matter what, but you can tell I like that they didn't make her emotionless, like her crying, her
Well,
relationship with Wallace
I like that
and
they
with
used it
Kay.
sparingly. I like that she only had like little fragments because it shows. I mean, obviously she's a replicant, but it shows like how tough she is and how like driven she is.
Yeah.
And how she really, it seems like she really can't defy Wallace, right?
Yeah.
And so I think while she might seem like kind of one-note character at times, like at the start, how she's just kind of hunting him down.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those little emotional moments, even if it's just like one tear, it really adds to the character. And then I love her ending, how like her
Brutal way to go.
her determination to do her mission at all costs for Wallace is what ends up killing her in the end, which is the classic storyline. But I don't know, I thought that character, there was a lot of chance for that character to be boring and just kind of there to
Just
classic drive to the plot along,
just
but instead she shined bright just like the rest of them.
Yeah. And the scene where she does die and she sees Gosling through the water, great. Like it's like moving and then it starts to stay still and you see his
The
face.
morphed version, so cool.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
that scene is so
so
brutal.
good.
It's
Oh my
so
goodness.
great. Yeah.
Well, I think Love. I've been thinking about it, and I think she really is the
Fitting
epitome
name too.
of I think she really is the epitome of what is wrong with morally with making replicants and making another like pretty much humans that can feel but they still have to obey all your commands because you could see how she has all these underlying emotions but she can't do anything about it. She can't act on them but she has to obey Wallace no matter what. But despite all that, she still has all these human emotions. She just can't act on them, and it really displayed just the monstrosity behind it. Whereas you get a character like Kay, for example, and he has at least more freedom with it.
Yeah.
And like you see a lot
He's
of
at home,
a lot of
big
a lot of
chillin'.
the newer replicants they have either they're like the older versions have nothing and they don't know humanity and what all these emotions are, or you have the ones like Kay who are very involved with society. They're just kind of absorbed into it. And then you have her, which is just like
She's a slave.
Yeah,
pretty much,
exactly.
yeah.
Right.
and it's really awful that like it really like a lot of the replicants that are in society, it's like, well, what's the difference? Like, how is there any difference? And then it really shows what's wrong with doing this, even if like we go towards that future. It really makes a statement.
I mean, the idea of replicants still being used as slaves is obviously a big part of this movie. Like, they're kind of the farmers of this world, but then we see that not only are they like farmers which is great, they need that, but they can also just be cold-hearted assassins too.
Yeah, it's expanded.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there really isn't. It feels like there isn't really a limit to what they will or won't do. They're kind of just, oh, these are my orders. Okay, let's go do it. In some cases, obviously, depends. Like, obviously, there's a lot of different types of replicants cruising around.
Yeah, and even
2049, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, and even then, I feel like they're never like truly free because you look at Ryan Gosling at the end of every day, he has to sit in that room and answer all those questions back. And I love that because it just was like
so
great, like brainwashing. They're checking, but it feels like a brainwashing. It feels like it feels like almost putting in a new program in your computer at times. Like
it feels. it reminded me a lot of in the original Blade Runner, how the Blade Runners would sit down and interview someone,
Yeah.
and sometimes in the case of Rachel, it took like 150 questions. I mean, maybe he just thinks he wanted to talk to her, but anyway, it's a very similar sort of thing, right? It's like a compliance thing, but it's just like very, very quick and
violent.
They just streamlined that process so much, and
it's
it
not like
seems
Deckards, where it's like,
it seems way less human now too, right?
Yeah.
Rather than having a human talk to them, it's just straight up this machine it's really obnoxious. Like, it's kind of an annoying machine, you know. You can see that he's in there and he doesn't really enjoy that part of his day. Yeah, he has to do it and he does it anyway.
Yeah.
And it made me think like it's a way of them making sure the replicants don't forget what they are, because they're much more aware of what they are and their place in society, because they're obviously accepted on Earth as with in the original Blade Runner. They know they're outlaws and they shouldn't be there, but it's kind of like, hey, like, remember, this is your place. You're not as good as us.
You may have
the
the same
lifestyle.
You may have certain privileges that we have, but know your place.
Yeah. Right. Well, and that ties back to the whole why the child's so important, right? Because it's like, no matter what, you guys can't create yourselves. You know, like, you always will need us, and that's why it is. Because at first when she was like, oh, we need to get this, or it's going to break everything, and I was kind of like, what would it change? But then as we went along, I'm like, yeah, I guess it would completely change everything from their perspective, because they could really take over if they want. Because it's like, if they can reprocreate, they don't need us. Like, they don't need the humans to be there to push a button, you know? And that's where that's constantly reminded of, like, it's always reminded where it's like, oh, we're always better than you. And that's where, same thing as Blade Runner I took from it. It's very, it has like those racial issues as well. It's like very much like a white people versus anybody, of like, some people can feel like, oh, always that entitlement because I'm in the majority of a certain race or a color and things like that. And that's where that plays on that, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, you guys can do this and this and this, but it's like, you still can't do this. You know, that's what the replicants feel, where it's like, oh, we've given you so much, but you're not the whole thing, you know, you can't fully live.
And it kind of played on how at one point Robin and Kay in their conversation, they mentioned that he doesn't think he has a soul because he was made. And he says, like, you have to be born to have a soul. But it's like, well, replicants can be born now. Like, how do you feel about that now? And then he thought he was the one who was born. And then he was like, oh my goodness, just completely changes how he views everything and their place in the world. And yeah.
Well, we haven't talked about it. Let's talk about the man who with the cock who almost changed everything. Deckard was back. He jumps in, halfway throughout the movie, and then we find out that him and Rachel, obviously they had the baby. The plan was for him to leave before the baby was born, kind of throw off the scent, get them safety. Obviously Rachel, she dies in childbirth, the kid goes away, and he's just kind of been chilling this whole time, and I think it was a perfect end to the character. And I think we talked about this in our preview, we've talked about a bit now, but again, I'm very happy they didn't answer it. Because one, I think it makes the story better if you still don't know if he's a replicant or not. And I think it shows a little respect from Denis Villeneuve to be like, you know what, that's a question they posed, and I'm not going to answer it because that's not my movie. Because you can watch Blade Runner and still have that question. Where if you watch, you know, this and it was like, he's replicant, it's like, well, now you have to watch Blade Runner this way. There's no debate. And I like that. And they talk about that. The scene with Leto's great when he's like, maybe you were designed to meet her and create this baby, or maybe it was love. And he's like, maybe you're a replicant, or maybe you're not. You're like, he's constantly like, it's just like, I felt like messing with the viewers. And I think great arc, and I like that he kind of got a happy ending, because in Blade Runner, he's with Rachel, but they're on the run, so it's not really...
for all he knows, Rachel could die in the next 4 years.
Exactly, so it's a very bittersweet ending, right? Where this is still bittersweet, he's missed a lot of time, but he's still meeting his daughter, and they think he's dead, right? Because that's... Even then, I don't think they would. I feel like they'd have the technology to see, like, hey, his body's not under in that water, but, like, in the movie, they're playing off, like, you drowned out there, right? So it's like, he kind of has a new lease on life in a way, so I love everything they did with the character, and I love that they made the movie, the character, everything, non-important if he's a replicant or not. The story is about him and his journey. It doesn't matter if he's a robot or not. I love that.
Yeah, I really like the inclusion. I think they could have gone so many ways with it, and he could have been in it a lot more. He could have been in it a lot less, you know, looking at Pirates of the Caribbean, how they use some recurring people. But, yeah, I think how they continue to build a movie and they create a story and they really get you involved with the character of Kay throughout the movie before they include Harrison Ford's character and how he is obviously quite intertwined with the story that's been happening thus far. I love the intro. I think the place he's in with like all these gigantic like Egyptian sort of statues
It's
and
in
that.
Vegas.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's implied that it's based with the casinos that he was
That makes
saying.
sense.
This
It's
is
not-
a place where people go
I
to
didn't
get
think it was
away for the weekend.
Egypt. I just kind of that was the vibe I was kind of getting from it,
And just
Yeah.
the sandstorm like outside,
Yeah,
so beautiful.
just like constantly,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah.
constant like dust. Yeah, I thought that was a really cool setting, something different as well. And then yeah, I love just the whole like he's just living in what like a train station or something. I don't really know. I guess it's like a casino.
He was
Everything.
living in a casino, yeah. Because he had the bar there and he had like the
Yeah.
thing. So I think kind of like a
And
combination.
there's all those
of-
game tables and
Yeah, I really
Oh,
obviously we
my.
already talked about that first fight scene in that cabaret lounge sort of thing. But I love when you go into like his kind of apartment building and it's I don't know it feels like lived in I guess and it
Yeah.
feels like he's just been chilling there and he looks like just the way he acts he just looks like tired like he's just
yeah.
so disconnected. He hasn't seen someone in forever. He has that dog obviously which is some form of companion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought you pretty much said everything about it. Like his inclusion was perfect, and I think Harrison Ford, I mean, he acted amazing as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Quick question: was that dog the first animal we've seen in Blade Runner? Period. Like, 'cause I don't
We
think we've
saw an
seen,
owl in the
that-
first one.
but it wasn't real. I'm talking about like a real animal.
We don't know.
Well, we don't know if that was real or not.
I think it's
Because
much
he
more
asked
likely it
and
was
he's
a
like,
replicate.
remember, he's like, is that real? And he's like, ask him. Which I thought was another good like wink to like.
I thought he was asking if the whiskey was real or not.
No, I thought he was asking I thought he
I thought it was
asked
the
the
dog.
dog. He
Not the
says, is that
dog.
real?
Oh.
Yeah. And stuff like we saw.
I think
I
saying the dog he just was feeding the dog whiskey. I feel like he's not a real dog.
I think
If you
a-
want the
a
dog to
dog would
survive-
drink whiskey though.
But if
Yeah.
you did that like regularly, like wouldn't the dog
Doesn't
die
it
likely?
regularly?
Like,
I don't think
It's
so.
just enough, I don't.
I
think
mean,
you
I've
care.
never fed a dog
Me
alcohol,
either,
but
so stop.
I wouldn't recommend it, right? Like I wouldn't feed my cat alcohol,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Give her
dogs,
milk
you
and
know,
she's
different
happy,
things.
right? It's their alcohol.
I mean, it completely makes sense. I just never looked at it. I always thought
Yeah.
it was like he was asking if the whiskey was real or like just like some weird synthetic whiskey, and then he's
Yikes.
like, "Well, ask the dog," and
Made
the
it in the
dog goes and
bathroom.
drinks it.
Maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if they've because they did the same thing with the snake in Blade Runner, the first one. They're like, oh, is that real or not? And then she kind of says something. I'm like, oh, whatever. So
Oh, whatever.
yeah, they
I
should
don't care
I'm not gonna
about
answer
you
your
to
question.
So I think we may or may not have seen a real animal, but you never know because they are rare and expensive. I could get you a horse. I could build you a horse.
Like wood.
Oh, yeah, that guy was
wood's
wonky.
expensive too.
I really like that guy. It was pretty
Um,
funny.
He's fun.
But yeah, no, I think Deckard. I think his story, the amount of screen time he had was just right. It was perfect, and I feel like they didn't have to highlight any more of his character. I love that they just touched the fact like, oh, is he a replicant? Is he not? I mean, I love that. I thought that was good. I'm with you on that. I love how Harrison Ford acted and delivered in this film. Like,
yeah.
like aside like he was great in Star Wars. I loved him in that. But like other movies that he's done, like
Lately, he's not been. He's in his older years, and he's doing movies that are just
Paycheck, maybe?
for a paycheck and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like Force Awakens, I remember was the first time everyone was like, "Oh, he's back, he's bringing," it. And he does the same thing in this, and it's very different. Like the scene with Rachel, like he's crying, and like he didn't do that in Force Awakens. Like it's a different type of bringing it.
Yeah, and I was like, I wasn't expecting that. I just saw like from the trailers, just saw like, oh, just the Harrison Ford, like,
Grumpy.
just doing his grumpy cameo back. And but like
Grumpy
watching
cameo.
this, like I was blown away about how powerful he delivered his performance, and it was just incredible. And just like you said, yeah, when Rachel came in, I was feeling like his pain and what he was going through. And I thought, wow, I can't believe Harrison Ford still has this in him. Like, good
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the when he's in that sinking like flying
Oh
car,
my god, that
like
was amazing.
just how he just feels so powerless. He feels
Yeah.
so weak, and I don't know. I think Harrison Ford, for a guy sitting handcuffed in a car that's filled with water, like in terms of that particular scene, he acted that as well as I could imagine.
Yeah. Oh. He definitely plays that worn out old man
Oh,
very
yeah.
well.
Oh yeah.
I love the
I wonder
way
what his
like
secret
even
is.
just like the
Honestly.
way they showed him when he was running to his car that he hid in the hotel there. Like you could see like he was not used to running, and he just went over. I love that scene too. He like opens the door and he's running, and then Gosling just like slams right through the wall right
Yeah.
behind him.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a really cool moment. You see very few times that Gosling's like very obviously a replicant. Like there's a couple times where he has like
When he takes that guy and he just banes him and breaks
Oh,
him
that
over,
was
it's
so
like,
sick.
wow, okay.
he just killed him just straight out. It was like
Yeah.
that was all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there aren't a lot of times where he like shows his superhuman abilities, but then he like smashes through the wall, and then in I wouldn't even call it gunfights. Just he just pulls out a gun and just like instantly just like goes to everyone and just kills them immediately.
Boom, boom.
Well, that was
Cool.
my tip off. Do you guys feel that if he would have been the child, do you feel like they would have the strength like a replicant like that? That was my only thing. I felt like if it was
No.
natural, yeah, and that's where when he busted through the wall, I was like, okay, I don't know if he's the the chosen one anymore, because like I feel
Well,
like
the thing is,
he'd have
though-
more human qualities, but we don't know because.
I mean, there's always-
It's not like the replicants have. They're still flesh. They're still
Yeah.
made of like just flesh. So.
They have enhanced attributes. Though.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I feel
the
like
thing
those
is,
would be genetically passed on though.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering. I don't
wouldn't
know,
be
but-
surprised either if, you know, this is a little stretch, I guess, but just human enhancements as well that makes people
Yeah,
just
fair enough.
stronger
Yeah.
through various means,
be,
right?
yeah.
That's always a possibility as well.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, unless any other Harrison
One
Ford
thing
comments?
actually, I was very curious. I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but obviously they mentioned that where in Las Vegas it was very high radiation.
Mm.
Do you guys know if it was still a high radiation area? Because
I don't think so,
when
because he put out that thing, didn't it say normal? He put out that little robot, and he said, what are the radiation level? And it said
But
nominal.
what does that mean?
I
Does
think,
that mean
I think
it's
that's
like
normal. That's
okay.
how I took it. It's like,
Nominal is
because-
like, I think it means like you can survive it.
Oh, okay, yeah, because one thing I noticed is when those cops came to take Deckard away, it looked like they had gas masks
Oh, they
on.
totally did.
They
Yeah.
definitely had masks on, and then it was kind of cool seeing Harrison like punch the masks off, which was.
I
But
really,
then,
I also,
and then obviously Gosling and Love didn't have one on because I imagine because they're replicants. I imagine
Yeah,
they
a little bit.
they're a bit more robust in terms of
Bad boy.
radioactivity. So, but then it's like Harrison's been living that whole time in that city with no mask on.
but I don't think he's
So-
been outside, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. I think
Yeah,
he's
that's-
just been
that's
chilling in
probably
this,
very
like,
true.
Well, he's
well,
got
that's-
bees out
It's
there.
something to think about. I don't know
The
if
bees,
bees react
so-
to
yeah, but he
radiation the same
can.
way we
It's not
do.
like he doesn't have a radiation suit chilling in the closet. He just wasn't wearing
Or he
it.
Yeah.
sends a dog out there to do his beekeeping. Or you see a dog has a suit
It's something
on.
that I kind of thought about, but
Yeah.
I doubt it really makes much of a
Reading the
difference in the
short.
grand schemes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you explain how do
Another
gas
anime.
masks work in this.
How did those bees?
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing that I was tipping off because I think they gave you signs when he put his hand in there and the bees weren't doing anything. That's where another thing I'm like, this doesn't seem right. But then again, it doesn't make sense if we said that he could have those abilities. But there's a few signs where it's like, I think he's more replicant than just kind of a mix. So, yeah.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to bring up earlier when we were talking about Jared Leto, but I didn't find the time. So in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't really like Drax that much, but in the second one, I thought the actor did a lot better job, and I really liked the character. And so this is the only other thing I've seen Dave Bautista in, and I thought he did amazing. I was
my
really
goodness,
really
yes.
impressed.
Yes.
Like I don't know. I guess it's just like it's a different character. It's less comedic, and obviously Drax talks in like fucking code sort of. But yeah, I really enjoyed his performance. I thought he was kind of scary, but also maybe like a bit
little
humble
bit
or
helpless.
something. Maybe a bit helpless too. And I love when he
He
put those
seems
little
scared.
tiny glasses on. I thought that was
Oh, yeah.
nice. And
Yeah.
then when he just like beats Kay into the wall like 7 times and just
Yeah.
smashes right through like. That was fucking scary, man. He's
That
just
kind
Drax
of
the
tipped
Destroyer.
me off
you know?
before. That kind of tipped me off that he was a replicant.
Yeah,
actually,
like, how's he
before-
surviving this?
Before he
Yeah.
even they even revealed it, but he's like, yeah, he should be dead right now.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I thought it was brutal when he, like, clocks him in the
Oh,
throat.
the way he deals with him, how he just like relentlessly just keeps punching him in the throat.
Yeah,
It's
and like
oh
the whole
my
movie,
God.
sound mixing is great, and just the sound of his throat getting bopped around and everything like that.
You said like when he was getting his head punched into the wall, like that was before they revealed that he was a replicant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
the initial
Dave
reveal
Bautista
was
said
in the
that-
conversation.
No, I think
He
he
said-
said. Are you talking about Kay or Batista? Being revealed as a replicant.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
because
what we're talking
Batista was, before that happened, he said, "How does it feel to kill your own kind?" So I thought that gave it
Wasn't
away.
that after?
No, that was before.
about. Mm.
It would have been before because they didn't have
Because
a
there
conversation.
wasn't any dialogue.
Well, they did have a
Well,
mini
no,
conversation
because
after because he said
Batista gets up for a second and then
Oh.
they talk
Oh,
for
yeah.
a second and then he shoots him.
I
like the
think
miracle.
I think he says that after because I think he says that and Gosling has the line saying, "Oh, like I'm not one of you. You're an older model." I think
Yeah.
he says that after.
I have to
think he
rewatch the
does.
movie just for that, just to.
And then stop at 5 minutes and that's it. I'm
yeah,
done.
I don't need to see anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was good, and I had a feeling he was not going to be in much because I
Yeah.
said that to Taylor before the movie, just because we had not seen much of him, and I thought, oh, he's going to be our Drew Barrymore Scream, like, oh, big actor, like, what is Batista going to do? And it's like, well, he's gonna die, you know. But
I thought it was a great intro to the movie.
Yeah,
right?
oh,
It really
yeah.
set the tone
and he's flashed back multiple times, and he's like, "You've never seen a miracle." And luckily, the childbirth like made me feel that line was warranted, because when he said miracle, I'm like, what a fucking cheesy line. Like, I don't want to, like, this is lame. And then once it's revealed, it's like same. Anytime I was like, oh, I might have a problem with it, like 20, 30 minutes later, they do like, okay, I see what they were doing, and like he got some time to flash back and everything. And the story is he auditioned for that, and he really, really wanted to be in it, and the director said, oh, like, I really like you, but you're not right for this role.
What did he audition for?
That role of that character.
But he did get it.
Yeah, he did. He's like, let me do, like, again, like, I can do it, and then he got it, because he really wanted to be in Blade Runner. So he almost didn't get it, and I can kind of see why, because, like, he's playing, but I think that made it better that he's this big hulking guy playing, like, I think a shell of his former self. Like, he's, like, has this, like, facial hair that, like, is not shaven, like, it's patchy, and he's just, like, farming for fucking maggots, like,
yeah,
like
he's a military class replicant, and he's just farming very humbly and
alone too. And obviously he probably had some ties to like Rachel and Deckard and everything like that. So like he had like a life or some meaning to.
But he pretty much gave up everything to watch over the remains of Rachel.
Yeah,
really.
Which really, after that long, they maybe should have moved him. You know, somewhere, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
because it took one scan. It's like, what's
to be fair, that car and that little scanner thing, that thing is pretty high tech.
Yeah, I want
that.
that.
That thing was pretty cool.
I want that in every.
I want that in my Corolla. That's what I want.
Will we ever, like, in the shorts, was that how it explained how Ryan Gosling found?
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because they find those files, and I
That's
think he was wanted. So
Yeah. Because he obviously was still a registered citizen, I imagine. They just didn't know he was a replicant.
He just lived out of the city.
Because all the records had been erased in the blackout.
Yeah. The other thing I want to talk about, which I liked it because we didn't get into a huge army or anything, was the like little rebellion of replicants, and then it was revealed that her name was Marette. Is that who it was?
Mariette.
Mariette. Mariette. Like, so, because when she put the tracker on her, I'm like, oh, for sure she's working with Love.
Yeah, that's what I thought initially too.
And then when Love wasn't checking this tracker, I'm like, okay, so clearly that's not. And the thing was too, because they show that scene of the girl with the umbrella. She has like a scarf around, and you just see glasses and like I think of her lips, and that's where it's like, okay, that's not Love. And I liked the reveal. I don't ding the movie for not doing anything more with it, because I think that was a good, like, oh, they said you should kill him for the greater kind. But I like that because I don't know, we'll talk about it again later. If there is more, anything, whether it's a prequel or a sequel, you could expand on this rebellion thing. And I liked Mackenzie Davis's character not just being a prostitute. You could tell, and before you go, I'm a huge fan. You've heard from us. She's going to be a fucking megastar. I'm telling you now. She's a bunch of Academy Awards. And even then, again, her scenes, like Batista, like Leto, not in many, but she had like a great chemistry with Gosling. That scene where she's trying to get him into like whatever the whorehouse is or the brothel.
Yeah,
like just that line of like, oh, you don't like real girls. And like, perfect. Like it's like same thing, like playing with that race issue again. But I thought the scenes where she had the chemistry with him and when she was like telling off Joy, once again, that's why I love her as an actress. Little to work with, killed it.
She's just very compelling on screen.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've only seen her in this and San Junipero, but she's very good in both of them. So, yeah, I agree. I think that if they went into that, unless they made the movie even fucking longer, but if they did do more with it, with the same runtime, they would have had to sacrifice like the crisp pacing that the movie had. Yeah. And so I like that it's kind of just this... it's not even really like a storyline. I mean, I guess it kind of is, but
it is for them.
Yeah, it's just. I like that it's in the background. It's kind of something to think about, something that exists in this world. Yeah. It kind of adds to the depth of the world. It makes it feel more real, and that there's different sorts of people and different types of replicants as well. Because a lot of replicants can seem quite similar. I mean, this movie does a great job of showing all the different models and all the different ways that they have been created and the way they act. So. And
even though we talk about the world being like dead as far as the atmosphere, it's alive as far as there's all these characters, replicants doing their own separate thing, and that's what it's like. I like that because it does make it feel very fleshed out. And if they made like another Blade Runner, they can make a movie that's not about Deckard, not about Kay, anything like that. That's what this. I'm not saying I want that they will, but that feels like okay, there's more than we know, and this is just Los Angeles too. Who knows what's going on around? There's 9 planets, you know. That's where it did feel like it's, yes, we're following Kay's story, but there's other threads that the world is not just sitting around like trying to be like, oh, we're replicants and we're accepting it. And that's where I think you made the great point on that. Like, I would have been fine if they went into more, but I wouldn't want to sacrifice Kay or Deckards' story.
Course,
so I think it was a fun little nugget to throw in.
Yeah.
I think it made the movie better.
How'd you feel about the OG origami guy coming back?
Yeah, I liked it.
It was weird hearing him speak English.
Yeah, he was not speaking like Broken City speak. I liked it.
That's Broken City speak.
Yeah, it was. That's how I was his voice coach one day.
Nice.
The only thing that was the only moment in the movie for me that felt like, hey, we really want a cameo of Gaff. Let's get him in there because that scene's not neat at all. Always like,
I honestly forgot.
He's like, where can I find Deckards? Like, I don't know.
yeah, that's cool. Like, and then he makes some paper mache. You're like, okay, that's the only. And it's not a con.
He made a dog, right? And then Decker had a dog.
He made maybe he made a dog, or could he made a horse?
I thought he made a paper mache dog.
We'll take a look.
I didn't
don't
think
know.
it was a horse, but
Yeah,
I
it definitely wasn't a
legs,
horse.
so maybe it was a cow.
a lot of things have 4 legs.
Yeah,
I was a dog. Decorative dog.
yeah.
You know?
But-
It all fits together.
It's not a con because I'd want it as like original. Like I'm a big fan of Blade Runner for years, so I like seeing Gaff back, but wasn't needed. Like he could have maybe. I don't know why he didn't get his own short. That's what they could use that for. Like
Sure.
him in the
Good
old
idea.
folks' home, everything. But like, well, whatever.
We all been there.
Hey, what do you want? I can make you this. But yeah, that was just like I was happy he was back, but didn't lead anywhere. So, and what did you feel about the rebellion? Because we didn't get your Tyler's on
The rebellion, I don't know. As soon as I saw them walking, I don't know why, but I was thinking like, whoa, Hunger Games kind of just popped up.
Oh, I thought
there, like-
Fallout, like what is the railroad or whatever?
Railroad.
Yeah, whatever they are.
I was not expecting it at all, but I really liked the idea behind it and what they were rallying behind. It was just something they were all willing to die for. I really like that.
She removed her eye so she didn't get red.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so cool in a movie when they display that and just an idea like where people are willing to die for something that's greater beyond themselves, and it just shows like that humanity that even though they're not human, it's a very powerful thing as long as it's a good cause.
Are you willing to die so the GeekVerse can continue?
Yeah, would you remove your right eye? Not die, but just your right eye.
Well, I'm dead in 4 years anyway, so.
No, 2. You're coming on 3 years.
Oh shit.
Those false memories.
No, I think as long as it's a good cause, I think it's I think it's very admirable. I think, yeah, nothing else I can add. I think it was a cool idea.
Nice. Go for it.
I thought they were gonna do make the plot go along following the rebellion a little bit
Me
more.
too. I thought.
I'm
it was gonna
really
be a
happy
big
they
war.
didn't. And I think what the rebellion did for me, and what also I want to connect it to when Gosling's car initially got shot down by those people in the junkyards. I thought it was really cool that they added these other factions that you're not really aware of, and they make it seem like there's going to be some big part with them, because I thought Gosling was going to get captured and then taken away, had to fight his way out. But
Yeah,
it really,
for
me, it really just built the world, and it really made Gosling's sort of conflict and story much smaller on a scale of things, because it shows there's all these other people with all these crazy weird lives that we glimpse into a little bit, but we don't see anything. It showed there's so many other things in the workings in this universe that we don't even know about, and will probably eventually lead to something that happens on a much larger scale.
Yeah.
Right. And
So it really focused and brought the main story down.
I thought that particular faction, if you will, was interesting because it just shows how much of a shithole this world is, and how there isn't really space to go because they had to make their base in a junkyard, literally in a junkyard under trash.
I thought it was so cool the way they took the car down though, and how they're improvising and adapting.
Yeah.
They literally make a little lightning rod that just causes lightning to hit his car, and it just shuts it down. I thought that was one of the coolest things.
Yeah, I really liked that segment of the movie, and I mean, I guess there's not a whole lot of depth when it comes to that guy who was running that slave, that child slave place, but I don't know. I enjoyed watching it. And I think that was a good way It was a creative way to kind of progress the plot a little bit at that point in time.
And it had a sense of danger to the world.
And it wasn't too long.
Yeah.
Either.
No. Yeah, I
It
was
was
worried like
perfect
what
amount
you
of
said, Tyler. He was gonna get kidnapped and fight his
Yeah.
way. But that's what I mean. Every time there was a moment in this movie, every once in a while I'd be like, "Oh, we're going this way." It's like, "Oh, good, we did." That's why I had the same vibes of Logan
that
when we
was
watched Logan. It
such
was
a-
the same thing of like, "Oh, it's gonna go this way." No, like
That is such a great scene. The way it started with like love or joy, just like glitching out outside the vehicle.
oh
and
yeah,
it's like,
back
okay.
and forth. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And then the way he just pops off just like for a brief moment, breaks the guy's back, guns those other guys down, and then
And they're
and then
afraid
all-
right away.
yeah, and then all of a sudden, and then you see all those other guys with guns. Kay's like, "Oh shit, I'm not gonna get out of this," and then the
Yeah.
missiles just start raining down.
Yeah.
It was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
God.
Anywhere we
Well,
want to go next and shout out or talk about? Talk about story, talk about character, talk about the score, or we've talked about visuals. I think we talk about
I
all
don't
day.
think there's a whole lot to say
just
about it. I mean,
beautiful. From
see the film. It's amazing.
yeah, from first shot to next. Like one of my other favorite visuals I forgot to mention while we're talking about. I love when Love and Kay are fighting in the water at the end of the movie,
Yeah.
and the backlights of the car have like lit the water, so they're like fighting in like this orange water. Like this movie is just beautiful. I mean, even moments when the car is flying through dark sky, they use rain and him flying over other terrain to like make like scenes almost completely in the dark look beautiful. Like everything could be a page, like a portrait. When he sees that big thing, like the big whatever girl, like touching him, like it's
And-
phenomenal. Like everything is just even the all like you talk about the underwater scenes. Like this movie is just. Deakins needs to win a goddamn Oscar. He's notoriously been nominated a lot of times and he's never won. He needs to win. He's a phenomenal shooter. Like it's so amazing.
Did you notice when Kay landed his air speeder down? And
It's
he
just
was
a car.
He was getting just a car. He was getting out of it to go and like attack like the Wallace shuttle. I'm gonna call it right.
Yeah.
Well, his vehicle was shut off. The lights were off. Everything, so that obviously they couldn't see him landing there. Like it was completely dark. But then when he was swimming back with Harrison Ford, the lights were on.
It's called he has keys in his pocket. You know?
I don't know, but he was
Really?
pretty beaten up. Yeah, the lights were on.
I actually don't remember.
I didn't realize the lights being off. Honestly, I thought there was
Yeah,
like a little bit of lights, and the reason I thought that they couldn't see him coming up to it was because there was so much rain covering the. Even if there were lights, they wouldn't be able to see anything because of all because of the downpour.
Because when he landed and started to shoot, the lights were on behind him. Because that's what.
Were they?
Like,
Because I just remember when
yeah.
the door opened and he was getting out. It was just dark around his vehicle.
no, I don't remember
completely.
that. Yeah,
I don't
'cause-
remember that either, but if you were right, shout outs to you for noticing that small detail.
Yeah, just the only reason, just because the lighting I was paying attention to, because like, you think about like Blade Runner and Deckard, he's in like some really colorful situations where he is. Gosling's constantly in his life surrounded by like gray and darkness. Like even his house has no character or color to it, and there's just little moments. Like I'm not sure if you saw this, but like when Rachel is walking towards Deckard, the closer she gets, because Leto had that weird like water room, whatever. Like, the light is getting closer and closer to Deckard when she gets up to him. Like the reveal is boom, like all the lights on him. Like like Blade Runner had that too, but they did this just as good. Anytime like Gosling was somewhere else, that like finding Harrison Ford, or when he's on that platform with the girl, like there's certain situations that aren't him or lit, but around him it's always dark. And even his jacket, like it's a green, but it's like the grossest, dullest green you can find, you know, or even Deckard, like it's brown, but it's still, at least stands out where he just like, even his hair, like the lighting.
Blends into the dark world behind him.
Yeah, lighting phenomenal in this movie. Like everything. You could pause every frame and find something to talk about.
I think one of my favorite scenes was when I don't remember if it was when he was leaving the station after he had the really shitty bass line or when he left the station the first time. But he's walking through the streets, and me personally, like was that in the streets? Was that snow all the time?
I think it was. Yeah, I don't know if it was all the time. I guess it's supposed to be maybe winter there. Now. Yeah.
But like for me, I always like I love the way like snow looks and just like how I think things look beautiful covered in snow. But they really made it almost disgusting in a way. It almost felt like it was like dirty ash.
Yeah.
Snow and
for sure.
it was like really dark and it was like foggy, and then there was like a couple vehicles behind him with like very white lights, and he was just kind of like walking with his trench coat. I thought that scene was absolutely just amazing, and that's probably one of my most visually pleasing scenes, I think. Of the
I love the ballerina too, the Godzilla ballerina just
that was
in the
really
town
cool.
dancing, and people were like walking through her feet, and he had all the classic like ads and everything like
The
that.
Atari one, that huge Atari.
Sony and Coca-Cola.
No Microsoft for some reason.
No.
They didn't survive the replicants. Like, we're not playing this terrible
No
console.
Nintendo either. So.
They're making the replicants. Yeah.
Wallace.
Nintendo turned into Tyrell and
Wallace
Tile
is
on
the
the
CEO
walls.
of
Yeah. He'd make a pretty good console, you know. Anything else? I'm trying to think of
Any cons that you guys might have?
I had one like tiny gripe. It's actually the scene with the rebellion people like coming to talk to Gosling, and then I can't remember the exact line. It's such a long movie. Forgive me, but at one point, like the leader, the lady with the missing eye, she says something about like we're just like humans, and then what's her name?
Marionette, I know it.
Marionette. She's like more human than human.
Yeah.
And I just like, I was like, no, you didn't need to say
Yeah.
that. Like that was honestly
That's
like
established.
That was definitely like
That-
really beating, like
that took
trying
me
to bring the
for such a
message home. But
solid script. Like that was like, why did you have to throw that in there, right? Like that's just
I got
we're
that.
already thinking that. And the Blade Runner
You know, just
way
in
of doing
case you weren't
things is to
thinking
leave
that.
things a bit ambiguous. You have to think
Yeah.
about it, but then she just like blurts that out, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
no.
No, every con I had was answered later on, and everything I thought could be a con wasn't. And I was really getting nervous at the end of the film when I thought they weren't going to show Harrison Ford see his daughter. For a while, I'm like, oh man, we're just going to end with Gosling dying on the steps. I'm like, I don't want this. Like, and I could see someone using it as a con saying they maybe wanted a bit more with Harrison Ford's daughter, but I kind of like that it's like, that's left up to you to decide.
Yeah.
Like, and that's every.
And like, did they go on to make a difference, or did they just kind of run away?
Or did Wallace
his daughter-
and then just show up and kill him?
Yeah, or like, is his daughter's immune deficiency even real, or was it just a ploy from the other replicants to keep her away
I
from?
think it was a ploy.
Yeah, that's what I think too. But I mean,
Yeah.
who knows? Because she's a replicant, her immune system didn't evolve properly, or it didn't
Right.
adapt the way normal humans would have, and it just failed.
Yeah.
So
No, I mean, if she's the first
Who
of
knows?
that kind,
Yeah.
there's probably some
there
issues.
could be something issue.
Yeah. Or she has no issues.
Yeah.
Apparently
and
the side-
so they could procreate. That could have been. I mean,
I think
I
he
think
did.
it's.
I think he did with Rachel.
Wallace thinks it's intentional, but
The only reason I
Who
think that
knows?
is just because in Blade Runner they stressed that like, oh, for some reason Rachel's important to Tyrell. Like he has kept her close until she runs out. So that's the only thing. Like and it's completely retconned. Like they made that up. Like they oh, this is a good way. So Blade Runner wasn't made with the intention of like, oh, and she can reproduce. But
Yeah.
I think that just because they played it up that she's special to him, that he, you know,
but
if he was
she
gonna
might have been the first one with an open-ended lifespan, and because they made her more like a human, that could have just been a side effect.
yeah.
That's the way I like to look at it. If you
Yeah.
guys want to look at it the other way, all good. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue about that.
I'm out of ideas.
Did you have any cons? You didn't say anything sticking out?
No, aside from maybe the car lights.
Oh
Wow.
God,
That's why this movie is a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm pretty good.
Well, we're gonna get. Oh, did you? Oh, I thought you said your con. Sorry.
Speak up, man.
The only thing that I really had issue with was with the same thing Dylan mentioned. I thought that was a little cheesy and
Yeah.
just kind of really
Unnecessary, right?
not really beating a dead horse, but like just like kind of like pushing over an alive horse.
Yeah, just kind of like
Couch.
You know, you didn't really need it, but
horse tipping. Yeah.
and then also just I thought when Ryan Gosling was there's a scene where I think it was him just standing there holding the little horse, and he was kind of putting together in his head what everything kind of meant, and that he was the
Chosen one.
that he was maybe he thought he was the chosen one.
Yeah.
And during that scene, like it went to like flashbacks of Batista saying you've never seen a miracle, and it went to like 3 or 4 different flashbacks quickly. I would have liked it if they just didn't do the flashbacks and kind of let us as a viewer piece it together.
Mhm.
Not
They did that a
necessarily,
lot in
yeah,
this
not
movie.
necessarily because it's a bad thing, because I think there's a lot of things that they made it a lot more obvious than a lot more of the themes that they made a lot more obvious than the old Blade Runner did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things of that style is to let the viewer kind of come to those conclusions yourself,
Sure.
rather than just like straight
I
up telling
think-
us. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I would have preferred more. I think the reason they did it in this movie is just because it's so long, and that scene
Yeah.
with Batista is in the first 10 minutes. And honestly, if they didn't say that, I might have forgot like what his line was that he said at that point. I don't know. I mean, I remember it now because they said it a couple times, but
Yeah.
I feel like the reason they did that as opposed to the style they would have done it in the first movie, for example, is just because the movie was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah, I'm like it's just a personal thing, but
Yeah.
Well, even then, I would say, like, I don't think it was common for me, but even when they tell him that it was a daughter, the second they do kicks in the flashback and it shows you that it's the dream memory maker, right?
Yeah.
They could have let that sit for like 30 seconds to a minute of him still being like, he could have asked this question and then put it together, but right when they tell him it's the daughter, it's like which granted, he's a smart guy, and that's a great thing in this movie, he detects a lot. Like, I love Matt Reeves who did Apes, but I'm really mad Denis not doing Batman, because, like, he has the detective stuff, like, down, but I think they did, not, like I said, it's not confident, but they could have maybe held on that a bit of, like, wait for the flashbacks and see if we could put it together and think about, because I didn't even think I got a chance to put together she's the daughter, because they're already showing me, and I think that's much more, like, that's where this is different than the original Blade Runner. Everything sits for a very long time, it's very subtle, and I feel like they do ask a lot more philosophical questions where this just builds upon it. I think this was I think it's still dense, but it does ask less questions in a way, because I think it's just building upon the other one. This, I think, is more about like I said, it's more about that world and something that could change it, where that was a very solo philosophical movie. It still has that, but I think that's why they did flashbacks, spell out a little bit more, because that wasn't the intent of this movie to ask so many questions. There's those questions that we talked about, like a replicant loving a piece of machinery. This, like, we've talked about them already, but I think
they just switched focus, right? They switched the focus from asking all those questions to just a more in-depth story, something with a little more twists and turns to it, and
more action
layers
too,
and more intertwined characters, right?
Because the original Blade Runner has like 2 action scenes when he shoots Frias, and then when they gets into the fight with Roy. You know, that's it. This has a lot more of like gunfights, this and that. So, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that's good, because
it's still used quite sparingly for the most part.
Yeah. Ty Riggs, final rating and your final thoughts.
Good to go this time. I'm going to give it a very a concrete 9. Because as concrete works, it gets stronger over time. I think this is a movie that if I watch, like, I'm going to watch it. I think this is one I'm going to watch more times, and the more I watch it, the higher my score's going to get. I think this is one that will very likely get to a 10.
Really?
But
okay, so it's
I think it can be a 10 in my books, but I think I need to watch it again.
Could you almost say it's a flowery 9 then? Because it could grow into a more beautiful...
I like budding 9.
I like concrete because it's a more...
A flowery 9
it's an industrial world.
Peak. A budding 9.
A flowering 9.
So like you said bunny 9? Like, that doesn't make sense.
A budding 9, you know, that's in like...
Yeah, well, bunnies turn into rabbits. That would also work. Actually, that's fine. I'm just more great at this game.
So, get out of here.
Fair enough. So, a concrete 9.
I very much enjoyed this movie, but I feel like I have to now go back, and I want to watch the first one again, and I want to watch this one again.
I want to watch the last scene of this one with the car lights.
With the car lights, yeah.
Specifically.
No,
fuck those car lights. I hate this movie.
This movie, like, as I said, like, I really enjoyed it, but it makes me really want to watch the first one and just kind of see how the two intertwine, being their own separate things at the same time. And I want to watch this one again because, like, I mean, it didn't feel like a long movie, but it was a long movie, and it was like going in the evening. I want to just like get up first thing in the morning, and be like, you know what, I'm gonna put this movie on. I want to watch it and just like be able to enjoy it. And I mean, I'm gonna probably say like a 9 that could easily go to a 10, kind of like where you're going.
Pop here.
You could say a concrete 9.
No, I'm gonna say a concrete 9.
You could say a budding 9. It hasn't.
Or I'm gonna say like an elevator 9. You know, it's stuck in the lobby, but you know it's gonna go up because it's not gonna.
It's just waiting for someone to get in.
No, there's no parkade. You're at the lobby. That's where it starts.
So that creepy basement though.
What about the morgue?
What about the morgue? Arrested Development. I like it.
I saw that episode. That's like the only episode I've seen.
And now you know one inside joke. As for myself, I mean I gotta rewatch all of like my top favorites for this movie, like, or for this year I should say. Like I gotta watch Logan again and Guardians and stuff like that to really determine where this is gonna fit in the landscape. But like without a doubt, even after one watch and thinking about it a bit, like this movie is easily like in my top 3 movies this year, and I think it has a solid chance of claiming the number 1 spot for sure. I gotta watch it again, of course, and I gotta watch the other top movies. But yeah, this, man, the way it like took the original and expanded on it and just improved it in like every way possible, pretty much. Like I love this movie for sure.
Yeah. Well, 2 things I want to say for that, just on that note. I have to do a lot of research into it. 2017 is like one of my favorite years of film.
It's
Like,
fucking good.
we last year started the Golden Geeks, and I did the same thing. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a list of my movies. Every time I look at the potential people I would nominate them this year for just movies alone, it's ridiculous. And I hate that there's certain movies, which I don't want to spoil because I wait for that episode, but I'm like, man, any year this could have fucking won. Like, I would have said this is the best film of the year, and there's like 4 to 5 films like that I could think of, you know, and I haven't had a year like that in a while. And even something like a Baby Driver, where it's like, for me, like an 8.5 out of 10, it's like still a great movie, like phenomenal, like so much good stuff going on. So that's one. 2, I think I've talked about this in the past, but you look at like decades of directing. For me, the 90s is clearly like Scorsese, Tarantino. The 2000s, like 2000, 2010 is clearly Nolan with Inception and Dark Knight. There's no case against Denis Villeneuve for not having, gonna be from 2010 to 2020. Prisoners was phenomenal. Enemy was really good. I actually really liked that. I think most people
He
do.
did Prisoners? Oh.
He did Prisoners. Sicario was amazing. Arrival, which is phenomenal. And now this is very much like I said, Nolan. Like, I don't know the last time a director, maybe since Nolan has had a movie, like 4 to 5 movies in a row, not 4 to 5 movies over a career, but in a row that has such an impressive resume. Whatever this guy's gonna do next, I'm gonna be there because I think he's easily tied with Nolan. Like, Nolan, for a while, I don't think had anything to sweat. Now there's like this kid on the block who like can just deliver just as good. Because like, I love Dunkirk, but like, this is over Dunkirk. Like, I love this movie so much. And this movie, like I said, I don't want to throw the M word around yet, but it is pretty damn close, I think, for me, for being like a masterpiece. This is easily going to be on like a top 50 of my favorite movies. And it's just, and like I said, I can't say it's better. I have to watch it again like all you guys. I think it's, for me, just on par as Blade Runner, the first one. I like them both for different reasons. And I've had a lot more time to sit with Blade Runner. I saw Blade Runner in grade 10 in film class. So, especially there, you're like dissecting it. You're talking about with a bunch of film nerds. We're like, oh yeah, this and this. Like, this I need a lot more time with, but this is something I couldn't find any cons with, you know, and that's where I cannot wait to watch this and Logan back to back, because I don't know, I'm really wishing this came out next year, because I don't know, I go back and forth all the time, like, oh, I like Logan because it's a bit more character centric, but I like this because it's such a grand scale. And just to reiterate, acting's phenomenal, directing's phenomenal, score's phenomenal, visual's phenomenal. Everything about this, sound editing, I hope this wins a lot of Oscars and we'll get a lot of visual and technical Oscar nominations. This movie, phenomenal. 10 out of 10 for me, easy 10. And I say it because I've given a lot of 10s.
You've done a lot this year, man.
I have.
It's almost too easy for you to give out a 10.
It is, and I feel bad, so I'll retroactively give Logan and Blade Runner an 11 out of 10. Because they're on that path, so they're... What?
What?
No,
You're steering away from the number system even more.
But, like, it's just something where... With something like, I don't know, Lego Batman, I can give that because I have no negatives. Like, it's just such an enjoyable ride. I have nothing to knock it down a peg. But this is on a different level. Same way it's like, oh yeah, Guardians is great, Spider-Man's great, Wonder Woman's great, but like Logan's on that different level. That's how I feel about Blade Runner. That's on a different level than movies. Same thing as Arrival last year. It's like, it's one of those movies that I'm going to remember for years to come and I'm going to be talking about. Where, so like Spider-Man, I really liked it a lot, but I'm not going to be like, man, that changed the way I wanted to see movies done. And yeah, I don't know what he's doing next, but I cannot wait to see it. So, me, woo!
Denis.
Where can they find us, Taylor Field, for anything else in the future?
Anything else in the future? Well, when you get up... Oh, I got nothing. I was going to make a 2049 thing, but I can't do it.
I have to
His
go to the
lights,
bathroom, so it's
his
maybe
lights
quicker.
weren't on.
The lights weren't on. Well, you know, with your internet or your data, use your data because we're data worthy. But you know, if you're not going to use your data, use the internet, and that way you can give us your data money straight to us because
Data
we deserve it,
money.
because we have awesome content.
The data
in the
money
search
wouldn't
bar.
go to us.
It should, because we have awesome content. So when you're saving your data money, you can send it to us when you're using your internet at home, because we're worth the data money because we have awesome content like this.
Data money.
Awesome Blade Runner
Data
review, data money. In the search bar with your internet, you can type in GeekVerse Space Podcast, and you will find us on Facebook, because on Facebook we got so much data money worthy content. It's fantastic. And you are just going to be blown away because we have so much stuff. I mean, like, maybe I'd say 11 out of 10 quality stuff, as Travis put it. I mean, it's fantastic.
We have so much
Data
stuff,
money.
it's almost like tears in the rain. You can find us at geekversepodcast.com for our video versions on YouTube and Twitch. We'll be returning to Twitch soon. We're working on that. But YouTube for sure. SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbay, our favorite. Anywhere you can get a podcast we're there. And if not, hit us up and we'll add it there. Remember, every Friday night is GeekVerse night, so do it right. That's our new time.
Ooh.
Yeah. We're live all the time on Fridays. I should have plugged this at the beginning. I'm so fucking mad. We're live every night on Fridays on YouTube. If not, you can catch us Saturday morning on the podcast. Next week, I think we have a newscast, I'm pretty sure. We got a bunch of Saw retros dropping here and there. So thank you very much for tuning in. Go to our Patreon, support us there. If you like this, throw us some pocket change and we can make the show better. And if you don't want to throw pocket change there, throw it to our charity because BC Children's Hospital needs it. So thank you very much for tuning in. Check out Geek Mania this Saturday, tomorrow. It will not be boring.
Definitely.
Yeah, man.
Well, later, nerds.